He spent years being ignored, treated like he was weak until everything changes in an instant. In a world where everyone tames monsters, he awakens a forbidden system. And instead of ordinary beasts, he gains something far more dangerous. The 10 primordial fiends, insanely powerful beings who take human form and fight by his side. Now, while everyone follows the rules, he completely breaks the system, getting stronger with every battle, crushing anyone in his path. But this power comes at a cost, and the higher he climbs, the more dangerous everything becomes. And worst of all, no one has any idea what he has truly become. Anyway, let's get into the video, because this one is insane. The story begins in the Awakening Square when a voice announces that the ceremony is starting and orders everyone to touch the monument to awaken their own profession. Class 3, Zhang Tianyu, is recognized as a blacksmith. Class 5, Lao Shizi, as a stonemason. A blonde boy comments that everyone there only awakens life-related professions and calls them all trash, saying that after watching for so long, it would be less boring if at least someone awakened a support class. The bald partner beside him agrees, stating that unlike Brother Feng, he awakened the honorable combat profession swordsman warrior, something rare and far above what common people could achieve. Someone bumps into the blonde boy. The bald partner gets angry and asks if the kid is blind enough to run into Brother Feng. The boy apologizes and says he is in a hurry. They stare at him in silence. The blonde smiles and comments that, so it's him. The partner says that guy seems arrogant and asks if he might be some young master from an important family. The blonde repeats young master and asks if he happens to know the Lin family that was inexplicably wiped out years ago, revealing that the boy's name is Lin Han, the leftover bastard of the Lin family. Feng starts shouting that it is a pity that one of the school's prodigy twins from back then is now ruined and asks if he still has the courage to show up there to retake his profession, questioning what kind of delusion he is having. Lin smiles, thinking Feng is just a weak dog that only barks, wondering if he really believes awakening a rare profession makes him special. Han decides he will show him what true talent means. A spirit appears with immense pressure and intense light. The bald one asks what is happening. People comment that it is a bright light they have never seen before and wonder if that boy is some kind of genius. Feng refuses to believe it and asks how it is possible that trash triggered an awakening anomaly, fearing that if he gains power, he will become a laughingstock. A loud boom fills the square as a voice announces that an awakening monument has revealed new results. Two nearby girls observe that the hidden profession awakened is beast tamer and say it is a pity, unsure whether to call him a genius or a failure. Another voice states that he is a newly awakened beast tamer. Yang approaches, asking if he really thinks he can make a comeback, and says that if his beast's strength is not good, he is still just trash, reminding him that raising powerful beasts requires great resources, and asking if he has that money, saying that if he crawls obediently right there, he himself will give him money to hire a stray dog. Lin asks whether Yang is not the one who is just a mere professional and wonders if, when a tiger shows its claws, he thinks others are made of clay, thinking that if he does not fire back a few times, it would go against his own explosive temper. Han adds that he will not need to borrow money and that with him there, why would he waste money buying other stray dogs? Feng gets irritated and charges, saying he will cripple him right there, but someone appears in front of him and strikes him from behind. A woman throws him far away. It is White Ice, Bai Bing, who asks what kind of trash he is to dare talk back to her student and orders him to disappear immediately or she will skin him alive. Feng looks scared, gets up and leaves, thinking that although Bai Bing is only a teacher, the Bai family is something he cannot afford to offend. He decides to let him go for today, but promises to deal with him another time. Bai asks if he really thinks he is something special for awakening a previously hidden profession. Lin asks her to stop provoking him. Bing notices something and asks how many times she has told him that outside the school he must call her sister, and asks if he dares sneak out to participate in the awakening ceremony, calling it bold. The protagonist asks her to go easy until she lets him go and says, "Beast tamers are a bottomless pit," ordering him to take the money and find a decent beast to contract, stating that above all, he must focus on strengthening himself first. Lin thanks her, saying he will repay the favor by offering her in marriage in the future. Bai tells him to stop being full of himself and threatens to rub his dog's head until it becomes raw meat. Later, at Lin Han's residence, the protagonist enters saying he is finally back and announces that he will begin showing off when the system congratulates him for a successful awakening and reveals that the divine-level beast domestication system has been activated. In the past, Lin was the young master of the elite Lin family, but 3 years ago his family was wiped out by a gorilla tide. The original owner also died from grief, and it was at that moment that the protagonist transmigrated, receiving a system that could only be activated after awakening. Han says that 3 years have passed and wonders if anyone even imagines what he has gone through during all that time. New notifications appear showing his data, informing him that the awakening is complete and the beast domestication system is finally activated, along with the side mission. Luck can save the non-existent. Luck can change destiny, as well as the revelation that 100,000 dragon coins can activate the incredible mode, making him stronger, more powerful, and more resistant. The protagonist complains, saying he just got money from his sister and the system is already eyeing it, curious to see what tricks it is up to. A light envelops his body. Lin appears somewhere else and asks what is happening and where he is, as the system congratulates him for completing the side mission and activating the incredible mode, also informing him that cheat mode has been unlocked and that a super rare summoned beast is available. The system detects that the host profession is only unlocked in the first turn, and that only one summoned beast can be unlocked, asking him to choose. Han remembers that every 10 levels of a profession equal 1 turn, allowing only 1 summon, so choosing wrong at the beginning could compromise his entire combat power. With no money to buy beasts and trusting that creatures provided by the system should not be too bad, he decides to take the risk. A summoning begins and new notifications congratulate him for activating one of the 10 primordial evils, the horned sky ant. The protagonist is disappointed, asking if he spent 100 dragon coins just to receive an ant, and thinking it is more of a scam than one hit 9, asking if he can return it. The system then says that the ant has formed a contract with him and is about to evolve to the second form, making him complain that they are forcing the purchase, asking why he would sign a contract with an ant. More notifications appear stating that the evolution has been completed and that the celestial horn ant's combat state has been activated. Lin gets excited, saying it is a great surprise, and imagines that the simulated exam the next day is already guaranteed. The next day, at the Shadow Mountain Ranges test field, the teacher explains that they will begin the first leveling session after awakening, saying that the responsible teacher had an unforeseen issue and that he will give the class, introducing himself as judgment instructor Cao Chong. He explains that through the portal beside them, the students will be teleported to an area appropriate to their level, and even though it is not a difficult test, everyone must be careful. Someone calls Lin and asks if he already obtained a contracted summoned beast, offering help if he has not. This someone being Long Tianzhao, his best friend and berserker, who promises to help him capture reserve beasts. Feng appears mocking him, saying he needs help even to capture beasts and calling him useless, asking why he does not bark like a dog and promising to grant him a beast if he does. The protagonist asks who he is calling a dog, and Yang replies that it is the dog itself that is calling, saying that is not right, and asking if he dares give orders, stating he is asking for the ending. Feng charges, but Lin blocks easily, asking if that is all and if he at least ate. Yang observes that he is just a beast tamer, and wonders if his strength really surpasses his own, imagining if Bai gave him some treasure. The teacher warns that it is Han's turn and asks what he is doing, ordering him to enter the portal immediately. Long says it is not safe to go alone and tries to accompany him, but Han says he can handle it. Yang thinks he already talked to teacher Cao, and that this trial was prepared so Han would not come back alive. Cao, for his part, thinks it is too bold of the boy to get so close to Bai and believes that woman will be his, promising to eliminate anyone who stands in his way. The protagonist enters the portal and finds a sign indicating habitat of the silver-threaded gale wolf, wondering about being placed in a silver leveling area and concluding that it was intentional. He looks back and sees wolves approaching, surrounding him from all sides. The protagonist touches the ant on his shoulder and says it is time to work, thinking that if they want to eliminate him, Chong's methods are far from enough. A light envelops the ant's body as she changes shape and assumes her human appearance, saying she is ready. Lin comments that he wants to see how powerful the 10 primordial evils really are. The ant charges forward, striking wolves with punches and kicks until defeating them all effortlessly, and announces that everything is resolved. Han smiles, saying it was only to be expected from one of the 10 primordial creatures, and that she took less than a minute to eliminate 7 storm wolves, imagining that if Yi keeps growing, they will massacre enemies there as if it were nothing. He finds it impressive that in just a few minutes, he has reached level 6, and that, although his combat power still cannot compare to Yi's, it is already on the same level as common combat professions. The ant calls him, and the protagonist admits he must have lost his mind comparing statistics with one of the 10 primordial creatures, since very few beasts of the same level can match her, and comments that looking at her appearance, it is hard to associate someone so fierce with a girl who looks so carefree. The ant tells him not to worry. 3 hidden men observe, and one of them comments that Chong said the kid would be alone, questioning who that woman is. The partner beside him says he does not know, but eliminating storm wolves with her bare hands proves she is not weak and that, judging by her appearance, she is among the best, even prettier than Bai, considering that it would be a waste to simply eliminate her. One of them says they can do whatever they want, but that woman is clearly a difficult opponent, and later, after ambushing her, he will take the chance to eliminate the boy first. He asks why the other two are silent, and when the bald one realizes it, they are already standing before the woman. The aunt, now serious, asks if they intend to attack her master. The bald man thinks that if she subdued his two partners in silence, she must be at least level 20. The protagonist orders her to capture the man and not let him escape, while the bald one tries to imagine who that boy is to have someone so strong protecting him. At that moment, a creature with enormous claws attacks him. Lin reacts immediately, asking his aunt to stop, wondering if the recommended level there was really only between 11 and 20. Ahead stands the Storm Wolf King, level 22, who has just defeated the bald man. Han thinks he is far too strong. The bald man is pinned beneath the monster's claw, begging for help, until the Wolf King crushes him completely and growls when seeing the two remaining. The protagonist admits that the situation has become complicated and decides to retreat first, noticing from her gaze that she will not calm down without fighting. Lin orders her to eliminate him. The Wolf King opens his jaws and the ant charges, but he strikes her and throws her far away, rushing after her to attack again, and creating a violent impact. The ant falls to the ground and the wolf brings down his claw, striking repeatedly while she tries to block and ends up getting hit. Han thinks that, as expected, the level difference is far too great and she will not gain any advantage in a direct confrontation, and realizes that the enemies were playing dirty, hiding, and ambushing. The wolves surround the protagonist. He charges forward and attacks them, mentally thanking them for sending their heads to him, saying he was wondering how he would eliminate the Wolf King and that now it has become easier. The system warns him that he must eliminate 10 fierce beasts. Lin leaps forward, forces open the jaws of one wolf with his hands, and tears it in half, finishing it with ease. The notifications indicate that the first battle mission has been completed, and that he received 100 beast domestication points. Han orders his beast to use the Furious Strike. The ant keeps blocking attacks while the system informs that the 100 points are being used to awaken the Furious attack skill of the Celestial Horn Ant, explaining that the strike deals damage equal to 100% of the caster's strength to the target. The ant shrinks in size and the Wolf King tries to find her, confused, until he freezes for an instant. Then he is struck head-on by her charge, delivering a powerful blow and finishing the monster amid a devastating explosion. The protagonist is surprised that the Wolf King was eliminated so easily, just like that, and acknowledges that this is the true power of a real fierce beast. The system notifies him that he eliminated a storm wolf and that it dropped a common weapon for verification, and that by eliminating the Wolf King, he obtained an exclusive weapon. The ant calls her master and runs to hug him, saying she eliminated the huge dog, and Lin tells her to calm down. He feels a strange sensation and wonders if she is really that powerful. The ant says she is tired and sleepy, lies on the ground and falls asleep, and Han thinks that is the Yi he knows, saying she worked hard and can rest. She enters energy-saving mode to restore strength, and Han thinks that eliminating monsters can yield treasures, just like in the online games of his past life. He goes to check the dropped equipment and comments that his luck is unbelievable. The system identifies a weapon called Wolf Fang Grip, Silver Quality, an exclusive item obtained from the Storm Wolf King with a level 22 requirement. The protagonist says it is not bad at all and that it should sell for a good price, and the system also shows an ice staff. Lin thinks that once his beast recovers energy, he will continue the hunt, since while leveling up, he can also collect equipment to sell. He recalls he was in a frenzy just now and asks what his current level is. The system displays his attributes, and Han is surprised, saying he did not expect that eliminating a Wolf King would grant so much experience that it would take him straight to the maximum level. He wanted to continue eliminating monsters to increase his strength and obtain equipment, but realizes this is no longer necessary. Even so, before leaving, he intends to talk to the two old brothers who survived to find out who their master is, concluding that the next period will be far from boring. At night, a few hours later, outside the portal, the instructor instructs the medical team to stay alert, saying that the students who participated in the clinical study will soon return and that everyone must be ready to examine and treat them. Thinking that some will not be lucky enough to return in time to receive treatment, someone calls him and Sao asks why the teacher is there, and if she had nothing to do that day, saying that if she came just to welcome the students who participated in the trial, she could have left that to him and did not need to come. Bai asks whether in regard to Lin's trial he does not owe her an explanation. Chong says he knows she has a good relationship with the boy, but as instructors, they must treat everyone equally, saying he could share his experience and asking what she thinks about going with him somewhere more private to talk in detail. Bing draws her dagger, places it against his neck, and says she demands an explanation. Cao claims he does not understand what she means. Bai explains that the boy is a beast tamer who just awakened and that he sent him to the silver training area, where he would not even be able to protect himself, let alone find a summoned beast, and asks if he thinks that because the boy has no backing, he can be intimidated however he likes. Chong states she is misunderstanding his intentions and says he had a reason to act that way, claiming that if he awakened as a beast tamer, he needs to face hardships to level up, and says he was not sending the boy to die as he arranged 3 teaching assistants to help him. Bing says he had better pray that the boy returns unharmed, otherwise whichever part of the boy's body is injured, she will cut that same part from the instructor and give it to him as a replacement. Cao thinks this is the only time she can act so arrogantly toward him, and that when she sees the boy's corpse, she will learn how cold he can be. At that moment, he believes that if he seizes the opportunity, everything will turn in his favor. A voice announces that the participants in the clinical trial have returned. Leng Ling Shui, Class 6, Rare Profession. Storm Mage, one of the prodigy twins of Class 1, returns, and voices comment that they cannot believe she was the first to complete the test, saying that it was expected of the prodigy twins of Class 1. Feng comments that it was expected from the school's best student, saying she finished even before he did and that, as the 2 greatest geniuses of Class 1 at the moment, they should get to know each other better in the future. Leng walks away and says that if it were the old Lin, she might have considered the possibility, but as for him, he can forget it. Yang gets irritated. Then another person steps out of the portal. It is Long, asking if his brother has already returned. Feng says he did not expect him, the fatty, to survive the trial, stating that he was very lucky, but his good brother was not as fortunate and must have been finished off in the secret realm. Tian, irritated, tells him to repeat it if he dares, and Yang repeats that his brother was finished inside, that he was just a 5th category beast tamer, and asks how long someone like that would last. The instructor tells everyone to shut up and asks Long if Lin is his father or something, telling him to stop worrying about others and focus on improving his own strength, explaining that he needs to clear space to avoid interfering with the return of the other students. Long replies that his partner will definitely return one way or another. An hour later, many people are already outside, and Feng's partners comment that he worked hard in the past few days. Tian notices that everyone has already returned and asks why his partner has not come out yet. 2 boys ask whether there is even anything to think about and say he definitely lost his life in there, since he is a beast tamer and dying among fierce beasts is an appropriate end. A stone hits their heads. Long becomes excited as he looks forward. The protagonist appears with another stone in hand, saying he lost track of time playing around and asking since when so many dogs started barking near the school. Tian becomes extremely excited seeing that he has returned. Bai thinks he gave her an enormous scare. The instructor questions what is going on, since he had sent 3 people to deal with him, and cannot understand how that trash is still alive, thinking that this time he got lucky, but he should not think he will escape unpunished. Feng asks what a beast tamer without a pet can do, and tells them not to say he hid in a corner the whole time after entering. Long asks if he is insane and if he really thinks everyone there is a coward. Yang smiles and replies that coward or not, they will find out afterwards by fighting, but claims that the 5th category beast tamer trembled in the shadowy mountains for so long before finally showing up, saying that is what a true coward looks like. Tian asks what he just said, and the protagonist asks if he is done barking, saying his abilities are not enough to even carry the shoes of his summoned beast. Feng, gritting his teeth, asks if he is being serious and proposes a bet to see who has the higher level, saying that if he wins, he will give 100,000 coins, and if he loses, the protagonist must kneel and call him grandpa. Lin accepts, saying a bet is a bet, and that later he will smash his face into the center of the earth. Tian warns him not to be impulsive, reminding him the instructor is still there. Han tells the instructor that this is between the 2 of them and that he hopes he will not interfere, asking if that is clear. The instructor replies that of course, but since he made the bet, he must fulfill his word, affirming that integrity is the most valued virtue in Class 1, thinking that the boy himself asked for this, and that he does not mind handing him the blade. Bai observes the protagonist and notices that those eyes and that devilish aura are familiar to her, thinking that Brat is planning to cause trouble. Cao says that now that the bet has been made, they should begin. Long declares that he is not part of the bet, but that he will join this round. Feng says he is only level 2 and asks what there is to brag about, telling everyone to watch closely because that is the level a genius should reach. 3 students beside them comment that Brother Yang is level 3 and incredible, as expected of a rare profession. Tian thinks he really advanced to level 3 and admits he underestimated him. Feng says it is Lin's turn, stating that Long is only level 2 and that he, complete trash, cannot possibly be better than that, saying both should kneel and call him grandpa. Tian asks what he is bragging about. Han tells his partner not to worry and not to consider Yong's strength, saying a simple level 3 is nothing and that even if he lost levels and had to retrain everything from scratch, he would still win by miles. People become indignant and ask about level 10. Feng is also shocked and questions how such a terrible beast tamer became so strong so quickly, saying not even the best student in the school, Leng, achieved that, and claiming he must have cheated, that there is no other explanation. The protagonist asks if, just because he cannot do something, he thinks no one else can and asks whether he knows what a hidden profession is. Lin walks and tells Professor Cao that he promised to be a witness to the bet, and now that he has won, he must help supervise Feng so he cannot go back on his word, explaining that he only reached level 10 thanks to the monitors who helped and protected him, asking the professor to deliver his respects to them on his behalf. Chong wonders if he knows he sent people to deal with him and if he knows why he is still alive, imagining whether he captured his subordinates and intends to use them to take him down. He thinks he worked hard to reach that position and will not let this brat ruin everything, concluding he must silence him completely that day. Leng wonders whether he is really level 10 and whether he is the former supreme genius of the academy, believing that sooner or later she will catch up to him. Han asks the teacher if she did not have something important to do and why she is there. Bai replies that since the situation was resolved, she naturally came, saying that it is her job and she cannot simply abandon it. Long says she just witnessed Lindsay reach level 10 within a few hours and that if he gets more time, he will become invincible. Bing becomes surprised. The instructor advances from behind, telling him to go to hell. Bai steps in front, warning her student to be careful. She blocks the attack and asks what he thinks he is doing, saying attacking students is against academy regulations. Chong tells her not to try pressuring him with rules and claims he must defeat that boy today. Cao attacks and throws her far away, but Bing quickly gets up to block again, saying that with her there, he will not succeed. Long tells him to let him go, but the protagonist says no, saying the teacher is not a match for him and will be at a disadvantage if she insists. Cao says she protects that boy so much that all his sincerity toward her was wasted. Chong grabs her upside down and says that if that is how it is, he will show interest first. A foot appears before his face. It is the protagonist who kicks him in the face. He catches the teacher in his arms and asks if she is alright, and Bai replies, yes. Lin asks how it feels to receive a level 10 flying kick and says that if he does not give a reasonable explanation for the surprise attack, he can let him experience again the strength of a level 10 beast tamer. Cao tells him not to think he does not know how he reached level 10, stating he sent 3 level 15 teaching assistants to accompany him and that none returned, concluding that Lin must have gone insane and eliminated them to turn them into experience points, saying that someone so cruel does not deserve to be a student of the academy and that he will bring him to justice right there. A person is thrown before them. Han asks if that is one of the mentioned assistants. Cao observes and wonders if Hao has been finished off, thinking the other two certainly will not make it either, and that this is perfect since there will be no witnesses. Chong points at the body and says even the corpse is here, and asks what more he has to refute. The protagonist says he just saw someone lose his life in the Shadow Mountain range and rescued him, unlike certain people who sent subordinates to their death and then refused to admit it, calling him pathetic for being used as a pawn even after death, and says that if he wants to resolve this, he should look for him in the middle of the night and not bother him there again. Cao shouts that he will break all his limbs right then and charges. Bai asks how he dares. As Lin dodges the attacks, he asks if he is afraid his lies will be exposed, and that is why he is so furious, commenting that no one would ever imagine an instructor sending people to harm his own student. Cao keeps trying to strike him and yells for him to be quiet, saying he is doing it to avenge Hao. Han, dodging, asks whether he is seeking revenge or trying to silence someone, and says he has no sense at all. Feng and his partners shout for them to teach that trash a good lesson. Chong keeps attacking with his fist and wonders what is happening as Lin continues dodging his blows, thinking that not even someone with level 5 combat could do that and questioning how he is managing. Han thinks Cao's strength is far superior to his and that he has no chance in direct confrontation, but he does not need to compete only with strength. The ice weapon is summoned. The instructor's foot is trapped by ice. Cao tries to move and falls to the ground, and the protagonist takes the opportunity to attack him, causing a violent impact. Lin thinks that luckily his strength increased significantly after leveling up, which allowed him to subdue the instructor, and that it was only possible because the team managed to freeze the enemy, otherwise he would not have found an opening so quickly. He concludes that as long as he keeps distance, he will not need to engage directly. After all, his stats are probably only slightly below Cao's, but if it were Yi, it would be different. The ant is summoned. She charges toward the instructor, saying that those who harm the master deserve to lose their lives. A massive explosion occurs. The ant hurls the opponent far away. Long says his brother is incredible and that he was really hiding a girl. Bai wonders who that woman is. Feng says the instructor was thrown far away and asks what just happened. The aunt becomes enraged. Han orders her to return. The aunt listens attentively and stays beside her master. And the protagonist thinks that Yi's identity as a former fierce beast is delicate, and revealing it too early would be bad for both, deciding to leave that aside and return for now. The aunt asks if she obeyed the command correctly and if she is a good girl, and Lin replies yes, but that first she must return to her ant form. She says she understands and returns to her normal form, jumping onto his shoulder. Cao asks if he not only eliminated a teaching assistant but also conspired with outsiders to attack him, questioning where that woman went. He states that a morally corrupt student like him must be severely punished. Then someone approaches telling them to wait. The person lands with a terrifying aura and tells them not to label students so quickly without investigating thoroughly. Cao asks how he got there. The newcomer is Sikong Chung, principal of the 1st Secondary School, level 56, first-class demon slayer. Chong says that the boy eliminated a teaching assistant to level up, and that he intended to restrain him and bring him to justice, but Lin tried to eliminate him, claiming that someone so wicked must be severely punished, and with witnesses and evidence present, begs the principal to deliver judgment and sentence the boy to termination. The protagonist says that one mouth alone spreads rumors and asks whether he really thinks he will waste his breath just to refute lies. The principal asks if he has something to say. Lin replies yes and asks that he first examine the cause of the teaching assistant's death. Sikong begins examining and says the chest bones were completely shattered and more than half of the internal organs ruptured, concluding that fatal injuries like these were likely caused by a large, fierce beast. Cao claims that even if the fatal blow came from a beast, it must still have something to do with Lin, asking how the boy could have brought the body back. Han replies that he is very good at pointing fingers and that it would be a waste to put him anywhere other than the cafeteria kitchen, saying he only brought the assistant back and asking how he is already convinced Lin eliminated him. He says he would rather suggest that the assistant was sent by Cao to eliminate him, but ended up killed by a fierce beast because he was useless. Chong says this is nonsense and asks how he could do such a thing. Bai says he previously assigned the boy to a leveling area incompatible with his level, raising doubts that he intended to harm students, and that regarding the claim he arranged assistants to protect the student, she also has her doubts. Chong says he is the victim of a setup and asks how, being an instructor, he could harm a student, stating that everything comes down to his word against the boys, with no evidence. The principal says accusing an instructor is no small matter, and asks whether Lin has proof. Cao thinks the people he sent are all dead, so there are no witnesses, and even if they were alive, they would never help the boy accuse him. The protagonist says he is not in the habit of making false accusations, and that he is saying this because he already has evidence. The two assistants and the slain Wolf King appear beside him. Everyone looks shocked. Lin says that at the time of the incident, the three were secretly monitoring him, and by coincidence encountered the swift Wolf King, who killed one of the assistants immediately, and afterward he eliminated the swift Wolf King. He states that as for why the instructor sent 3 people to monitor him in secret, those 2 surviving assistants should be able to answer. The 2, crying, say that instructor Cao sent them to monitor the boy and create the illusion that he had been killed by a beast's fangs if necessary, stating that everything was staged by him. They think that creatures similar to ants are not uncommon in nature, animals that strictly follow the concept of levels. Han thinks that with Yi, that ancient fierce ant, extracting confessions becomes unbelievably simple. He asks the instructor whether he does not think he owes an explanation. Cao wonders how those 2 useless men confessed so quickly. Then he feels an extremely strong power approaching. The impact hits him. It is the principal, attacking him with lightning and saying that, as an academy instructor, he intended to harm a student and seriously violated the institution's fundamental principles, ordering him to prepare to receive proper punishment. Later, in the same place, Bai says the matter is concluded and that they may leave, saying he must be tired after the trial and can get into the car so they may return. Lang approaches and asks whether the Swift Wolf King really killed him and how exactly he killed it. The protagonist asks whether she can keep some distance between them. Ling says that his profession is different from close combat professions, and that he should focus more on ranged attacks, using his companion to draw enemy fire, stating that he would not be able to face a Swift Wolf King head-on, and that the only explanation is that he formed a bond with a powerful beast, then proposes training to test his abilities. Lin asks if this is not an inappropriate time for that and thinks that despite her distant appearance, she is actually very curious. Bai removes her hand from the boy and says she understands her desire to improve her strength, but for now she must carefully analyze the trial experience and not spar there. Leng says she's only curious about how beast masters fight and hopes Bai understands. Bing replies she is sorry, but he just finished a fight and needs to rest and cannot accept her request. The protagonist raises his hand and says, the students are a bit tired after the test and asks what they think about ending class for now, commenting that the day is beautiful. Bai thinks that first that woman appeared out of nowhere and now this girl, wondering when that boy became such a playboy and why she should care anyway, since the two of them are not that close. Bing says the matter is settled and leaves, wishing him a safe return. Feng says he still has not answered his question. Lin says he is tired and they can talk about it another time. She says she understands and to remember the promise. Han comments that the little ancestor has left and asks why the teacher seems so irritated, wondering if it is because she secretly took part in the trial. Elsewhere, a beautiful girl hands the protagonist a drink, and he thinks that if he sells those 2 pieces of equipment, he can cover some expenses and also return the money borrowed from his sister. Tian Bian, chief of the trading post, approaches saying he is the manager there and heard he wanted to sell 2 pieces of equipment, asking if he can see them. Lin shows the 2 items and says he obtained them in the silver level area of the Shadow Mountain range, asking if he needs anything. Tian confirms his name and asks whether he is really who he thinks he is. Han replies yes and asks if he knows him. Bian laughs and says his father, and he have been friends for more than a decade and that because of that friendship he may call him uncle, stating that if he can already venture into the silver leveling area, having such strength at such a young age means the revival of his family is not far away. The protagonist asks if that is so, and says he will entrust him with the 2 pieces of equipment, wondering if the man is truly his father's friend and whether he might suggest a higher price. Tian says not to worry about that and thinks the boy is young and likely does not know how to negotiate well. The 2 say they are eager. Bian states the equipment is of good quality, and as a friend, he will offer 5 million celestial dragon coins. Lin says one thing is one thing, and even if he knows his father, the transaction must follow the rules, explaining that the equipment was obtained by defeating the Swift Wolf King and is worth at least 8 million. Tian says Lin's father was a close friend and offers 5,500,000, but the protagonist counters saying that was his father's favorite auspicious number, then proposes 7,880,000. Bian asks whether 6,660,000 would not also be an auspicious number. Han agrees to 6,660,000, thanking him for the help and thinking the amount is even higher than he estimated, concluding he profited this time. Bian asks whether it was a pleasant collaboration, and the protagonist says yes. While Tian feels he has been tricked by that boy, he instructs the employee to transfer the funds to Lin's bank card, saying the black card is the membership card and has a credit limit of 3 million celestial dragon coins, adding that if the boy ever needs to sell equipment or anything else, he may look for him frequently. Lin thanks him and thinks that since he's already there, he may as well look at some magic scrolls. 10 minutes later, Tian thinks that the newly awakened boy has incredible strength and that his future achievements will be immeasurable, imagining many opportunities to work with him ahead. At Lin's residence, an older man waits outside. Han calls him Liu and asks what he is doing there. It is the Bai family steward, Steward Liu, who says it has been a long time. The protagonist comments that it has indeed been a long time since his family's decline and asks what brings him there. Liu says that Miss Bai personally led people into a diamond-level secret realm to capture a void beast for him, but because she acted without authorization, she was detained by the family head, so they sent him in her place. Lin wonders if Sister Bing truly went into a diamond-level secret realm and thinks that even Principal Sikong Chung would not dare enter such a place so easily, realizing she truly went to great lengths for him. Liu says that, furthermore, the master left a message. The Bai family has done everything they could for him, and since they managed to acquire the void beast, they will no longer get involved, so he should stop troubling the young lady. Han becomes irritated, calls the man a steward, and says he appreciates the kindness but has no connection whatsoever with the Bai family, reminding him that when his own family met misfortune, he never asked them for help and nothing has changed now. He tells him to take the void beast back and inform the Bai family head that he does not need beast taming training nor their assistance. Liu says he truly has backbone, but that what the Bai family does not wish to give, no one can obtain, and what the family wishes to give, no one can refuse. The steward steps forward and says that if he wishes to refuse, he should first evaluate his own abilities. The protagonist stares at him, and Liu becomes frozen and trembling. Lin continues staring with killing intent, and the steward, confused, asks what is happening, thinking that he is not a terrible beastmaster and wondering why he feels fear toward him, concluding that it is impossible and that he should not be intimidated by a novice. Han hands him the card. Liu takes it. The protagonist says that this is the money his sister lent him and that he is now returning it with interest, asking him to thank the young lady for her kindness, stating that he owes nothing to anyone and that the steward should not try attacking him so lightly again. If there is a next time, he should not blame him for disrespecting the old friendship between their families. The steward is shocked and wonders if this is truly the boy from before, and how someone from a ruined family could have such presence. Inside the residence, Lin lies down thinking that a weasel wishing a rooster Happy New Year is never a good sign, but remembers that although Sister Bing kept her distance so as not to trouble him before, being pressured like that on his behalf makes him uncomfortable. He decides not to dwell on it and remembers he still needs to complete the job change mission when he wakes up. The ant on his shoulder starts stroking him until a strong light shines and she assumes her human form, lying against him and saying he worked hard. In the job change temple, a voice welcomes him to the temple and says the system has already selected a room for him, and he may go there directly. People comment that the first secondary school has awakened an incredibly strong Beastmaster, and that they heard about him, saying Beastmaster is a weak profession, but he not only reached level 10 instantly, he also defeated Cao, calling him unbelievably powerful and wondering if they think he will come today to perform the job change mission. The protagonist walks through the place hearing the comments, thinking news spreads far too quickly and that he must be more discreet from now on to avoid trouble. Lin then stops before a huge crystal and remembers the receptionist said that touching the crystal would reveal the job mission. He thinks the level 10 job change mission should not be too difficult. The system then displays the mission information. Name, Thunder of the Fallen Realm. Mission level, 5 stars. Content, defeat the Thunder Beast in the ancient ruins and obtain at least 7 energy stones. Location, Shattered Ruins. Job change mission, 5 stars. People around look and ask why a mission announcement suddenly appeared, saying it looks like someone triggered a 5-star mission, a legendary level of difficulty, practically impossible to complete without hiring help. Han asks about that 5-star difficulty and what kind of luck he has. A boy shouts asking who the unlucky person was that triggered a 5-star mission. The protagonist thinks that fortunately, only the mission details were revealed and not his personal information. Otherwise, it would have caused huge problems. He says that now that he accepted the mission, there is no time to waste. In the Shattered Ruins at the mercenary gathering point, a bald man complains that no one showed up for the mission and says he will have to drink cold water to clear his throat again that month. He senses something and sees Lin beside him. The soldiers observe the well-dressed boy and ask if he is some young master from a wealthy family who came on a mission, saying that if he is, they just found a fat sheep at the perfect time and will make a good hunt. They ask if he is there to complete a mission. The bald man also asks if he wishes to hire the mercenary group, guaranteeing quality and offering a 20% discount since he is new. Han replies that he does not need it. The bald man insists they can negotiate the price, and that this time he will waive his commission to make friends. The protagonist pushes his hand away and says he does not need it, and that if he keeps pestering him, he should be careful with his arm. Lin shoves him and thinks that giving up commissions so easily can only mean 2 things. Either they are trying to scam someone who seems inexperienced, or they intend to kill and rob him. The bald man becomes irritated and says he will eliminate that boy. A red-haired girl approaches and tells him to forget it. The bald man asks if they will let the boy go just like that, and the girl replies that the security patrol is watching and that it is unwise to make any move there. She says that if no one can stop him inside the area, they can still leave safely, and when he exits the protected zone, they will have fun with him. Han continues walking and asks if this is the place known as the Shattered Ruins, commenting that the artistic style is very different from the Shadow Mountain range. He calls his pet and says they can go. The ant says she is ready. The protagonist replies she has been a good girl and that today he will allow her to enjoy a good fight, asking if he really triggered a system mission. The system congratulates him for triggering a leader-level mission. Lin asks about the 300 beast domestication points and says it is great, that Yi's power boost will depend entirely on them. He thinks that the location to complete the job change mission is further ahead, and that he does not even know where the Thunder Apostle is, deciding he will first buy some intel from Tian. He says they will do the job change mission first and accumulate beast domestication points later. Still in the same place, Thunder Beasts approach. The ant leaps among them and throws them away. Other beasts rush toward Han and he asks if, since they cannot defeat Yi, they intend to attack him. The protagonist releases flames and says he wants to see what Thunder Beast barbecue tastes like, imagining it must be very aromatic. The electric wolves retreat in fear. He launches fireballs and the wolves are defeated. The system notifies that the Thunder Beast has been successfully defeated, informing him that he obtained an energy stone and warning that he has reached the maximum limit he can withstand in his first transfer. Otherwise, he will be unable to exceed this limit before performing the second transfer and will not be able to gain more experience. Lin observes and says he has not finished the mission yet, asking if the beast is trying to flee and commenting that his scrolls will not allow that. Explosions occur, the battle ends, and Lin takes the crystal, saying it is not bad at all that in such a short time, he gathered all the energy stones, remembering that magic scrolls are expensive, but truly useful. Han observes the system and complains that he could not complete the job transfer, and that all that experience was wasted. But fortunately, Yi leveled up, jumping from 3 to 15, concluding the trip was, in a way, worthwhile. The protagonist takes his phone from his pocket and says the headquarters should have already sent the Thunder Apostle's data. A voice on the device says it found where the Apostle is and is sending it now. However, the Thunder Apostle is very troublesome, and if someone is below level 15 in the second transfer, it is better not to go alone. Lin says they will still go, claiming it is time to earn beast domestication points. The red-haired girl hiding watches and thinks those magic scrolls cost tens of thousands each, wondering how many he used on the way there, and concluding that boy definitely spends a lot, imagining they will get rich this time. The bald man asks if they should act now, and the redhead says not to rush, saying they will wait a little longer so the boy can collect more energy stones. Moreover, she says the woman beside him is not easy to handle and they will act only after both are more vulnerable. Sometime later, they find the Thunder Apostle lying down, and the protagonist asks if that thing is really only level 17, saying it is far inferior to the Stormwolf King and poses no challenge at all. He tells his pet that they can go home after finishing it off. The ant charges forward and the tiger stares at her approach. When the ant strikes the opponent, it spits blood and is knocked to the ground. She then advances again, attacking. Lin summons a scroll and freezes the target. Han smiles, as that magical scroll of the ice cream cone art defeats the Thunder Apostle successfully. The ant says she is very tired, and the system shows she received 300 beast domestication points. The protagonist comments that the enemy's attack was not even that strong and asks why its defense was so high, saying it took too long to defeat it. He thinks that defeating the Thunder Apostle earned 300 beast domestication points, and that today he really won the lottery. He then decides to awaken a new ability for his pet. Mana surrounds her body, and new notifications show the activation of a 20% defense increase. The ant hugs him, saying she feels even more powerful and thanking him. Lin asks her to behave and pay attention to their surroundings, as they are in the wilderness. Someone approaches, saying he knows how to fight. It's the redhead accompanied by several mercenaries, asking what good it is to fight without firepower or intelligence. Han asks if the man behind her was not the one who offered to help him earlier by waiving the commission, and says he only shows up when all the monsters are already dead, asking if he came just to leave a mark on Grandpa's legs. The bald man says that he dared refuse the mercenary group and will pay the price, and that he must hand over all his treasures obediently if he wants to leave alive. The protagonist asks if he actually dares to rob him there, and if he fears being discovered and arrested by the security patrol. The redhead explains that the shattered ruins are divided into safe and dangerous zones, because the inner areas are never patrolled. She says that if he loses his life there, the patrol will assume monsters did it, and tells him that if he must blame someone, he should blame himself for messing with the wrong people. She says not to worry because she will take good care of him. The men comment that his girl will belong to all of them. They notice the ant has disappeared and ask where that woman went. The ant leaps from behind the redhead, grabs the men's arms, and throws them far away. Then she tosses the others as well. Some mercenaries farther back shoot, but they do not even scratch Yi, who has the Iron Bones ability activated, increasing her defense by 20%. The redhead, lying on the ground, says that woman is strong and that she was careless, ordering them to fall back quickly. She looks terrified when she sees the protagonist appear in front of her and asks if he is trying to run away. A frightening power bursts out. The bald man, desperate, says that woman is a monster, and asks how that kid can keep using magic scrolls non-stop. The redhead says that woman only seems to listen to the boy, that he saw the entire fight, and that they must capture him because his magic scrolls must have run out and then they can turn the situation around. The bald man agrees, saying that without scrolls the boy is a weakling and that he will face him. Lin asks if he really wants a desperate counterattack. Han summons more scrolls and says that weakling only thinks about financial power and orders them to hand over their equipment, energy stones, and skill books, promising he will consider letting them go. He warns that otherwise, he will show them what it means for all fear to come from insufficient firepower. The redhead asks who exactly the thief is there. In the transfer temple, the receptionist asks whether that person was the one who activated the 5-star mission that morning, Lin, and says he is handsome but unlucky, since such a difficult mission would take at least 10 days to half a month to complete. Han approaches, saying he just finished his transfer mission and returned to submit it. The receptionist, surprised, asks if it was that fast. Outraged, she says it is impossible, insisting that he must have misunderstood, because a 5-star mission is not like a common cabbage and cannot just be completed like that. She asks if he is only there to get information about the transfer mission, and tells him to wait a moment. The protagonist says no, that he actually completed the mission and returned to perform the transfer. The receptionist, still indignant, asks if he really completed the mission, and Lin says it was quite easy and she tells him to wait a moment because she will prepare a room for him immediately. Room 996 is currently free and the process is the same as when he accepted the mission. She wonders if he truly finished the mission in just a few hours and if he is bluffing. She looks to the side and notices that the 5-star mission Thunder of the Fallen Realm has been completed, confirming it is true. A group of boys talk, asking since when someone that strong appeared there, someone capable of completing a 5-star mission. Meanwhile, the system announces the second transferred profession, Scholar of Beast Domestication, and Han asks if that is his second time transferring his profession, and says it feels great. The system displays the data of the second transfer completed successfully. The protagonist asks if those are the new abilities gained after the transfer, Lightning Wings and Skill Copy, and says he will test the power of his new abilities. Light is emitted and Lin is able to fly. It is an ability that can only be learned from advanced skill books, and he did not expect to unlock it during his second transfer, concluding that Beastmaster truly is a hidden profession. As for Skill Copy, Han asks if it means he can copy and use Yi's abilities, saying that although it lasts only 5 minutes, using it at a critical moment could decide the outcome of a battle, which is not bad at all. Then another level up reward appears. Fusion is nice, telepathy improves combat, but the most useful is that the ability detects malicious activity nearby, functioning as an automatic alarm. If he had that ability earlier, he would have wiped out that mercenary group because they would not have had the chance to scatter uncontrollably. The protagonist yawns and notices another system message, asking if there is another mission already. After the second transfer, it is time to find a second beast to contract. The mission challenge informs that the host has successfully advanced to the second transfer level of Beast Domestication Scholar, triggering the mission to capture and tame a beast alone, with a reward of 500 beast domestication points. Lin thinks Yi is powerful in one-on-one combat, but her area effect is lacking. Lightning-based attacks are quite effective against that weakness, and if he had a lightning-type beast, it would compensate for that gap. It seems it is time to visit Uncle Tian again. After selling the spoils of war, he will also buy some information. In the VIP room, Tian asks what treasure he dug up, and Han answers that he met some generous people who handed over many treasures, says he intends to sell everything and asks for help counting it. Bian asks what the girls are waiting for and tells them to count the items and calculate the prices quickly, and they rush to do so. The protagonist thinks that although the Thunder Beast dropped some treasures, it still does not compare to the savings of that mercenary group, and he is grateful that they ran toward their own demise. Otherwise, he would not have obtained such profit. Tian says that the items he brought are valued at a total of 13 million coins, and that he will have someone transfer the money to his card immediately. Lin thanks him and says that, by the way, he is looking for a lightning attribute beast and asks if there is any recommendation. Bian replies that, speaking of lightning attributes, he heard a top-quality Thunderbird appeared in the Thunder Electric Forest in Yuzhou City a few days ago. That Thunderbird may have ancestral lineage, and many people who tried to capture it returned empty-handed. Han becomes interested and asks about a Thunderbird with ancestral lineage, saying it is perfect for what he needs, and asks if there is any additional information. Bian replies that there are no further details, but the exchange team acquired one feather from that Thunderbird. That feather glows when it approaches the Thunderbird. The protagonist says it is an excellent item and that they will take it. Tian says they are in business, and since there is buying and selling, he can give him a friendly price for the feather, 1 million. Lin thinks that for the price of that feather he could buy more than 10 scrolls and wonders if Tian is trying to rob him. But since it is the only clue to find the Thunderbird, he says he will buy it for 1 million and Bian thanks him for his patronage. The protagonist thinks that as long as the feather increases his chances of finding the Thunderbird, it is worth 1 million. Thunder Electric Forest, Habitat Zone of the Thunder Leopard, Bronze and Silver Leveling Zone, recommended level 0 to 20. Tian says to remember that the feather will glow as soon as he gets within 10 meters of the Thunderbird. Lin says it is a scam because if he manages to get that close, he will be able to see the Thunderbird up close. Somewhere else, Han is in the forest, sitting on the ground with the feather inside a little box, saying that he really spent 1 million on that and must focus on how to find the Thunderbird, and that with his pet nearby, crossing that forest should not be too difficult. With Yi alone, he can travel through the entire Silver Zone, and he wonders if, by recruiting another beast, he could not dominate the Gold Zone as well. The ant becomes irritated upon hearing this and says he is mean, that having her is not enough, and he still wants other beasts. And Han says it is fine and asks her not to get angry. Then someone shouts for help. It is a girl running from a beast, a level 19 Thunder Leopard. That girl is Su Nianwei, level 10, Master Tracker, and she thinks that if this continues she will soon be in danger. She trips on a tree branch and falls to the ground. The leopard approaches rapidly and Su thinks that this time she will lose her life. Moments later, Neon realizes she is still alive and wonders what that sound is. The protagonist strikes the leopard, stopping it from attacking her, and Su wonders what is happening. Lin asks if she is alright and Neon replies yes, thinking that with a single punch he managed to send the thunder leopard flying, wondering who that person is, saying the thunder leopard is not easy to face and that they should run while they still can. Han says that if she is referring to the big feline, she does not need to worry because someone will handle it. The ant charges and bites the leopard. The opponent begins screaming in pain, impacts shake the ground, and the protagonist thinks he did not expect her to grow so much when using the Iron Bones ability in celestial ant form, because in that state she resembles more a fierce beast. Su asks if that thing is another beast. Lin extends his hand to her and asks if she is hurt and if she can stand. Neon leans on his hand and says that ant can subdue a thunder leopard, so it must be at least a level 20 fierce beast, and that since it has not noticed them yet, they should escape quickly. The leopard is finished off, and the ant, irritated, asks how she dares take her master away. Su says they are surrounded, and Han tells his pet she did a good job, and will be rewarded when they get home. Nyan, frightened, asks what is going on, and the protagonist says to let him introduce himself. He tells her his name and says his profession is beast tamer, that this is his contracted beast, and that there is no need to be afraid. Su says she remembers now, and comments that the legend says a secret profession, beast tamer, awakened in the neighboring city, concluding that it was him, and Lin says he would not call that a legend. Neon asks if they do not say beast tamers rely on their beasts, and why he is also so strong with his fists, and asks what species that ant is, saying she managed to defeat the thunder leopard. Meanwhile, the ant is very irritated and jealous of her master, hitting her lightly, and Han says it is alright and asks her to stop throwing a tantrum, then asks why Neon went to such a dangerous place. Su introduces herself and says she is there to complete her second transfer mission, but was unlucky and drew a 4-star mission, and asks about him, wanting to know what brought him there. The protagonist answers that he heard there is a thunderbird in the Thunder Electric Forest and that this is his target. Neon asks if he is looking for a fierce beast and says that by coincidence her profession is Master Tracker and she can help, considering it a thank you for saving her life just now. Lin wonders about Master Tracker and thinks that profession is weak in combat, but excellent in tracking and will be a great help. He says he will count on her for his mission, and Su says no problem, that everything is on her. However, she explains that her abilities are limited and that if there were any item from the Thunderbird, she could locate its exact position. Han says he has a feather and asks if it works. Nyan says a Thunderbird feather is extremely rare and remembers that they were incredibly expensive on the black market. That feather is very well preserved and should be perfect for locating the Thunderbird, but warns that if she uses her ability, the feather may be damaged if he wants to sell it later for money. The protagonist says not to worry, because it is useless to him anyway, and that if it breaks, it will be his own fault. Then Su starts channeling her magic into the feather. She opens her eyes and says that if they follow that light, they will find the Thunderbird. They walk toward the light until Lin tells her to stop because there are beasts ahead and many of them, and Neon asks what to do and suggests a detour. Han says there is no need. The ant charges toward the beasts, and the system notifies that she eliminated the Thunder Beast and gained 650 experience. The protagonist asks if they were in the middle of talking and says she is very motivated, thinking that it was to be expected from his pet since she defeated them all easily, and wonders why he feels she is particularly irritated today. After Yi settles everything, she thinks her master will be very happy to see that. They keep walking, and Su asks if all those were finished off by that little ant. And Lin replies he already said these smaller monsters can be defeated easily. He thinks he finally reached level 11 and says it feels great, as the system notifies he leveled up to 11, that all attributes increased by 160 points, and that he gained 120 attribute points to distribute as he wishes. The ant shoves Su, and the protagonist says she is behaving badly again and must return to normal. Neon, having fallen, asks what is happening and if some animal attacked them. She looks back and says it was just the little ant and she got scared, and Lin orders his pet to return to her original size, as it will be easier to move around. Su thinks she has the impression that Ant is chasing her and wonders if she is imagining things. Meanwhile, Yi is irritated and jealous of her master, and Yan thinks it is just her imagination and wonders how such a tiny ant could have bad intentions, saying she will pet her. The ant allows it, but inside she is furious, and Han says that if she keeps petting her, the ant will explode. There are still many monsters ahead, and he asks why Yi does not go open the path. The system notifies level-ups with each beast eliminated, and the protagonist says the feeling of leveling up is very satisfying. Lin checks his own data and thinks he reached level 15 in such a short time, and that it will not take long before facing the third transfer mission, and also thinks his pet worked very hard. Sue says it is more than just difficult because the two of them practically cleared the entire Thunder Electric Forest. But now they no longer need to avoid beasts, they can go toward the Thunderbird as fast as possible because she can sense it is heading that way. Han asks if something is happening up ahead and says Yi is an ancient fierce beast and maybe there is something ahead that even she fears. Ahead is the Thunderbird at level 13, and the protagonist smiles and thinks that if he can contract it, today will be a great victory. The bird opens its eyes and flies away, and Neon says none of her professions allow flight, and they definitely will not catch up to it, lamenting that after all that effort they will lose the Thunderbird. A light is emitted, and Lin asks who said he cannot fly. He activates the lightning wings and flies toward the bird. The bird stops moving, and Lin asks if it wants to consider becoming his contracted beast, saying food and lodging are on him. The bird bolts away, and Han asks if that is such a strong reaction, saying that beast is lively and he will play with it. Sue says she will wait for him there. The protagonist keeps flying after the beast and asks if it really does not want to be his contracted beast, saying it will not regret following him. When Lin is about to touch it, the bird escapes, emitting a very bright light and lightning, and Han asks if it knows it cannot escape, and if it is preparing for a fight to the death, saying its courage is admirable, and that he will defeat it then. The protagonist uses the berserk attack and touches the bird's neck, saying the contract is finally signed. Lin checks the bird's attributes and says it only has those stats, and is much weaker than the celestial ant. He almost forgets that with his system getting stronger is easy. New notifications appear saying the Thunderbird successfully performed Ancestral Return, Thunder Emperor, entering its second form, and Han thinks that, as expected from a lightning element beast, it leveled up 5 times and that the storm ability is practically a weapon of mass destruction. The bird, now in human form, lands on the ground and greets its master, and the protagonist is impressed, saying she lives up to the name of Fierce Beast, being even fiercer than Yi. Meanwhile, the ant is serious and also assumes human form. The two stare at each other, and Yi says that is an insolent bird and it must not dare steal her master, and the bird asks if a little ant dares claim the title of master, saying she could swallow her whole in a single bite. Lin says it's all right, that now they are all family and that the childish bickering should stop, and he states that Yi was the first to transform and, as the older sister, she should let her do whatever she wants. The bird asks if he can give her a name as well, and Han says he'll think about it, comments that she is a thunder element avian beast and says he wants her to poem. When the ancestral path is cheated, at the origin the primordial yin and yang merge and collide, the union forms the thunder called the drum of heaven and earth, so he names her Sky Dove, and the bird says she likes the name and thanks him. The protagonist thinks she is a gentle and adorable girl but has a wild ability like the storm, and would like to test her power, wondering if this is the perfect opportunity for the Thunderbird to show what she is capable of. Meanwhile, Sue is crouched on the ground asking where he went and when he will return. In the barbarian camp, Neon asks if he will really help her complete her 4-star mission and says her target is the chief there, who is very difficult, asking if he doesn't think it's better to give up. Lin replies that she helped him find the Thunderbird, so it's only fair to help her complete her second transfer mission, besides wanting to take the opportunity to test the Thunderbird's strength, and he tells the Sky Dove to show how strong she is. The bird flies high, causing immense pressure, and begins to demonstrate her power. At that moment, an overwhelming force is released in the sky. The barbarians look up, and Han thinks the monsters there are very low level, and that, with the storm attack from the Celestial Dove, they can only kneel and beg not to be finished off, and he tells his pet to do whatever she wants, but not to eliminate the chief. Sue, seeing so many lightning bolts in the sky, asks where that bird is because she can't see her clearly. A powerful bolt is unleashed, causing a massive impact, and the barbarians assume attack positions with bows in hand. The Sky Dove approaches and immobilizes one of them, finishing him with her incredibly powerful lightning, and Young asks if the Thunderbird is moving, saying there are so many enemies they don't know how long it will take and asking if they should help. Then someone approaches and the barbarian chief is thrown to the ground by the bird, and Sue asks if that is the chief and if he was captured so quickly. Lin draws his dagger and tells her to finish him because her mission will be completed. Nyan grabs the dagger, attacks, eliminates the chief, and the mission is completed. Sue thanks him and says it was thanks to him that she managed to finish the mission, comments that her home is nearby, says the essential part is resolved, and asks if he would like her to show him the city of Yu in the province of Yu. Han says there's no need to be so formal, and that she also helped him find the Thunderbird and says he hopes to meet her again someday. Neon smiles and thinks that she hopes they can see each other again. Meanwhile, the protagonist walks with his two pets and thinks that he captured his second beast in half a day, saying his luck is sky high and that now he needs to plan his leveling route properly. Then Lin notices something, answers the ringing phone, and asks if the chubby guy is calling at that moment, wondering if it's something important and asking why he's calling, saying that if it's to offer a meal, he's already heading over. Long tells him to stop, asks what meal, and says he has something important to tell him, asking if he's heard of the illusory realm, explaining that this realm is a virtual environment created by the Imperial Armed Forces, capable of simulating various combat scenarios and generating different types of fierce beasts to battle awakened individuals. Long explains that although it does not grant experience points, it can be used to train movements and abilities. In the private room, Zhao says that a lot of people are fighting over a single spot and that he asked his father to help him get one. Han thinks that the individual combat skills of his pets are superior, but teamwork is another story, saying that the illusory realm is perfect for them to train together. He imagines the two holding hands and saying they must serve the master well. Long says he sent the address to his phone and he can check it when he has time. The protagonist thanks him again and says he has helped him a lot over the years. Zhao asks what the problem is between them and says that if he becomes successful in the future, he can't forget his friend. The next day in Lin's room, Yi is lying beside him asking if he slept well that night, and Han asks if it's so intense so early in the morning. On the other side is the Sky Dove, who says it's still early and he can keep sleeping, and the protagonist says he can barely breathe and asks if that's the issue with sweetness. The ant gets irritated and says she's preventing the master from breathing, and the bird says the master will certainly breathe smoothly because she is small, and Yi gets even more irritated and asks where she is small, saying the master said she is the older sister. The Sky Dove says she doesn't understand those words, commenting that her brain seems to be as small as her stature, which makes her ridiculous. The two start fighting, and Lin thinks that training their cooperation needs to be added to the agenda immediately. In the Illusory Realm Experience Hall, the attendant says the identity has been verified and that he can enter the hibernation capsule to experience the Illusory Realm, being able to choose dungeons of different difficulty levels based on personal level. Breaking dungeon records grants rewards, and Han thinks the rewards offered by the armed forces must not be trivial. The protagonist enters the capsule and the system detects the user, asking if he wants to enter the silver level dungeon, and Lin replies, yes. The two pets get excited and more notifications arrive stating the silver level dungeon was successfully selected, is loading and has loaded successfully, wishing him a good trip. Illusory Realm, Arena, ahead are monsters, level 13 wolves, and Han says they are old friends. The ant says she will show who is most suitable to be at the master's side, advances, finishes the wolves ahead and shows the middle finger to the bird. Level 15 wolves approach and the Sky Dove finishes them easily, saying she's bragging over something so trivial, claiming that Yi is childish and that she will show what true strength is. An explosion happens and the protagonist, trying to ease the situation, says they are all family and must love one another. Yi says she doesn't want to be the bird's friend, and the Sky Dove says that since their species are different, she can't be her friend either. Lin says those two girls are way too individualistic and asks if they are teaming up against him. The two immediately approach and ask if he has any injuries, saying they are very sorry, that it's all their fault for not protecting him and thinking it's all their fault for feeling jealous and forgetting the master's safety, saying they must take that battle seriously from now on. Now the level 20 wolves approach and the system notifies that the third wave of fierce beasts is about to arrive, saying the beasts of the third wave are closer to level 20 and he may proceed with caution, and more notifications arrive, informing that the machine does not cause physical harm to the user, but transmits pain directly to him, and that if he has difficulty continuing, he should quit the training immediately. Han thinks that difficulty might be impossible for some rare combat professions to overcome, but says it suits him perfectly because the greatest weakness of a beast tamer is the insufficiency of personal combat power, another reason why he came to the illusory realm. The protagonist punches a wolf, sending it flying, and the two say he is incredible, and Lin says it's not bad at all and that investing all his free attribute points into strength was worth it. More wolves are summoned and the real battle begins. Han and the two advance together. Yi says that even though she doesn't want to fight alongside the bird, it's an order from the master, and the Sky Dove says she also won't hinder the master. The protagonist says he would like to see whether those Storm Wolf Kings have strength comparable to Yi's or speed comparable to the Sky Doves. They fight the Wolf Kings. In the Illusory Realm Experience Hall, two boys say that the older brother's longsword trembled and all the beasts fell, commenting that it was impressive and that it's a pity their friend didn't see it, and Feng is excited and boasting because they said that. A voice says that classmate Shu can partner up next time and that he would be pleased to accompany her, and the girl replies that she prefers to fight alone. Yang thinks that Ice Flower is as unattainable as the rumors say and that he will see how to win her over. Suddenly, he is completely shocked, asks what is happening to that room's statistics, and says that at that speed, they are going to break records. Ahead is a big screen showing the silver level dungeon, current progress, final stage, experience time of 8 minutes and 59 seconds, experienced by Lin. The bald one says they reached the final stage in 9 minutes, and that they really are going to break the record, and a guy beside him asks who that boy is and if he is a disciple secretly trained by a prominent family. Shu asks if he might be the school's beast tamer, and Feng asks how that poor boy managed to get a slot in the illusory realm, saying it was probably a case of mistaken identity. On the big screen, the updated record for the silver level dungeon appears. New record, 9 minutes and 8 seconds, record holder, Lin Han. Yang asks if it's really 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Shu, also surprised, asks if he really broke the record and says he's very strong. Meanwhile, the protagonist is relieved for managing to eliminate everything and says it's finally over, and the system congratulates him for successfully completing the dungeon and becoming the new record holder, showing the ability to use thorns to immobilize targets within a radius of 100 meters around the user, with vines that have a paralyzing effect, informing that consciousness will be removed automatically and that they hope he visits again. Lin says the reward is actually a skill book, comments that the illusory realm is quite interesting, and says he'll try the gold level dungeon next time. Han leaves the capsule and the room while people comment that that rookie is amazing, that he really broke the record by cutting the original time in half, and ask if anyone knows him. The protagonist, trying to hide as much as possible, wonders why they revealed his name that time and if they have no privacy at all. Shu watches him walk by and says it really is him. Feng gets irritated and says that boy is stealing the spotlight again. In the Illusory Realm Control Center, in the military department, a young man says there's something wrong with the data because a second transfer beast scholar has set a new record for the silver level dungeon, saying the time he takes to complete each phase is unbelievable, since each wave of fierce beasts lasts less than 3 minutes, and not even some third category professionals can achieve that speed. The officer thinks that even if that person's beasts are strong, reaching that level with second transfer power alone is already considered genius, says they must recruit him into the army and orders them to investigate that person thoroughly, saying that by the next morning he wants all available information on him. The next day, in the classroom, Long says that with a single bolt, the Storm Wolf King finally saw the mountain of corpses of its companions piled at Lin's feet, was so terrified it prostrated itself 100 times on the spot, and the girl says he's amazing. Feng kicks the door open and tells Han to get out. Zhao asks what he's doing and if he isn't afraid of getting beaten purple again because of his brother. And Yang tells him to stop with that nonsense and call his brother right now, thinking that Lin must have broken the record by pure luck yesterday, saying his family provided many resources to help with his second transfer recently, and that if he dares steal his spotlight, he'll beat him up. Long tells him to go away, that his brother is leveling up in the Shadow Mountain range and preparing for his third transfer, and doesn't have time to argue with him. The two boys ask about third transfer and say the speed at which that boy levels up is way too scary, asking if he didn't break the record yesterday by chance, and Yang asks if they believe everything he says and if they have any brains. Zhao says that people like him, who barely managed to reach the second transfer thanks to their families, can't empathize with geniuses, and tells them to wait until his brother comes back after the third transfer, because then he'll be able to beg for his blessing. Feng gets irritated and tells him to just wait, thinking that when Lin gets back he'll finish both of them. In the Shadow Range, explosions erupt and the pressure is absurd as the protagonist fights enemies with his pets, saying that with the speed of those two experienced harvesters, reaching the third transfer will be easy. Yi hugs him and says she herself eliminated the fiercest beast and asks if that isn't amazing. And Lin says it was great work. The Sky Dove says she just finished counting and eliminated 2 more than her sister, and Han says she is amazing too. The ant says she counted several times and there is no mistake, claiming the bird must be exaggerating, and the Sky Dove asks if her brain can even count properly, and the protagonist says it's fine and tells them not to be like that. He thinks the two are getting stronger and stronger. The Silver Zone fierce beasts together aren't enough even for their warm-up, let alone to improve strength, and asks how about going to the gold level leveling zone to have some fun. In the gold level zone, they are behind bushes observing a venom-patterned lizard level 21, and Lin thinks he didn't expect to find a nest of venom-patterned lizards right away, saying it will be a tough fight perfect for improving their skills, and Han tells her to take the front line and use speed to attack from above. Yi charges forward saying that this time she will definitely eliminate more monsters than her. The lizard spits a liquid from its mouth, hitting her, and the ant backs away saying she doesn't feel well. And the system notifies paralysis by poison, continuous health loss lasting 1 minute, and the protagonist says that poison could make her lose a lot of health and orders the sky dove to use storm and finish it quickly. The bird uses a thunderstorm with pouring lightning, hitting all the lizards, and Lin thinks that her lightning storm is too random, which makes it hard to accurately strike venom-patterned lizards, which aren't that big, concluding that he needs to find a way to impose some movement restrictions on those lizards. He remembers the skill book he earned from breaking the illusory realm record. The system shows the skill book data, and Han observes, thinking that the bird's attacks can't hit small targets precisely, and that using a control skill could improve accuracy. The system notifies to learn a skill, and he successfully learns the voodoo thorn technique, and the protagonist tells the lizards that their carefree days are over. Lin jumps down, causing a massive impact and launching the lizards away, and the bird takes advantage and strikes them again, eliminating them. Yi says she also wants to help defeat the monsters. The protagonist says it's not bad at all, he leveled up 4 times in that short period, and that the commotion from earlier attracted 2 saber-toothed tigers, level 22, and the system notifies his gains. Lin thinks the 2 are already at level 20, and that after they finish, he should also reach level 20. Yi charges to attack the tigers, the 2 fight together and eliminate them, and more notifications come informing that he has risen to level 20, that all attributes increased, that he gained 140 extra attribute points, and that he reached the maximum limit a second transfer can endure, needing to accept the class change mission. Otherwise, he cannot surpass that limit, and before reaching the 3rd transfer, he cannot gain more experience points. Han says that since he already reached level 20, repeatedly defeating monsters makes no sense, and he should return and prepare to complete the 3rd transfer mission. In the transfer sanctuary, the protagonist says he didn't expect to have to change jobs so soon, and speaking of that, asks if it can't be something less than a 5-star mission, saying that last time it harmed him. On the big screen, a 5-star mission is announced. People are surprised and ask what is happening, if it's another 5-star mission, and say only 8 days have passed and why there are so many monsters lately. The secretary thinks she doesn't even need to guess. It must be Lin again, and wonders if he is the legendary level-up maniac. Meanwhile, Lin looks at the mission data and asks if this time he even needs materials, saying that thing is trying to eliminate him. That night at the Ghost Pier, Han says he originally planned to go home, sleep a little, and then complete the mission at full energy, but now everything is ruined. Yi says not to be afraid because with her, any mission will be easy, and the Skydove says she will also protect him. And the protagonist says that of course he trusts them and that it's time to get ready because the target is about to appear. On the ghost ship, the presentation time is 7 o'clock in the evening, and Lin thinks he heard his sister Bing talk about the legend of that ghost ship, saying it is a very popular dungeon that attracts many challengers, but that most people are terrified, imagining what terrible things may be inside. Han says they are real ghosts. The protagonist tries to throw a punch, and the ghost asks if he's really that slow, making Lin even more irritated. He starts to fly and defeats the ghost, saying that Sister Bing was right. Since lightning neutralizes soul-type fierce beasts, ghosts are also soul-type beings and lightning is absolutely fatal to them. He thinks that not gaining experience points now is a big waste, and that they must finish the mission quickly, otherwise the longer it takes, the more it will bother him. More ghosts approach and Han orders the bird to purify them, and several ghosts are defeated at once. The protagonist says those ghosts are no match for Tian, but that mission is at most 4-star difficulty and asks why it is classified as a 5-star mission. He watches carefully and wonders if it can be combined. Then the ghost captain appears, level 25. The captain begins shooting and Lin says that with his addition, things are finally getting interesting, ordering the bird to take point, block the enemy's line of sight, and assist Yi. The ant dodges the attacks while the Skydove strikes from behind, knocking the weapon out of his hand. At the same moment, Yi rushes in and hits him, and the bird says that wasn't bad at all, and the ant comments that the lightning she used earlier was also quite powerful. Han tells them to take that guy down together first. They charge forward and Yi uses the berserk attack, sending him flying, and the bird unleashes lightning, hitting him directly and defeating him. The ant says she defeated the enemy herself, and that she is super strong, and the protagonist thinks that considering it was their first coordinated operation, the result wasn't bad at all, and that the combined power of the 10 primordial evils working together is not as simple as 1 + 1 = all. Now that the ghost ship has been cleared, they need to find the 3 materials. In the Crimson Forest, a flower shines brightly, and protecting it, there are level 22 wind lizards. Lin says he didn't expect to find the second material so quickly, and the bird says that flower must be the eye of the wind and that she will use her old trick, fly over there and grab it. Han tells her no, because the branches there are too dense and unsuitable for her to fly. Yi says she can help too. 10 minutes earlier, the first target material had been brought back by the sky dove, and when she brought it, Han said she did a good job, and the ant commented that she also wanted to be praised by her master. Now, the protagonist tells Yi to go ahead. Yi charges forward and the bird asks if she can handle it. Lin replies that her true form is an ant, and that digging holes is not a skill for her. It is an instinct. Then Yi digs a hole and starts climbing the tree, getting closer and closer to the flower. Han tells her not to get too excited, because they must stay alert until the job is done. And when the ant touches the flower, the protagonist says something is going to happen. Yi falls and the lizards wake up. The ant says that wind is really annoying and exposed her. The lizards surround her, and Lin says there are too many wind lizards, and fighting them will put her at a disadvantage, ordering the sky dove to bring her back. The bird flies forward with her speed ability, grabs the ant, and says the master sent her to save her, bringing her back. The protagonist says very good and tells them to speed up and get out of there. In the Crimson Forest, the lizards continue chasing them, and Lin asks if, just because they grabbed one of the flowers, the lizards are still chasing them here, saying that at that speed, it is still a bit difficult to shake them off. He decides to put all of his free attribute points into agility. Yi is surprised and asks if the speed increased, and Han says yes, and that everything will be fine once they get up ahead. The ant asks what is waiting for them, and the sky dove says the master's words mean something. They enter the Crimson Forest, deep section. The lizards look and turn back, and the ant says they are gone. The bird asks if he came there on purpose, and the protagonist says exactly, because the fire lizard pack gathered in the depths of the Crimson Forest is the ruling force there, and not even the wind lizards and grass lizards together would dare oppose them. The third material they need is the fire dragon flame, which grows among the fire lizards, and they head to the high temperature area. Lin says they will soon find the fire lizard pack and that once the mission is done, they will return home and rest. Meanwhile, the lizards are in the lava. Later on a cliff, Yi says those lizards are bathing in lava. Han observes the flower carefully and says he found it, the fire dragon flame, and comments that the terrain there is open, perfect for her to use her speed. The system congratulates him for activating a random mission, and the protagonist asks if a mission is being announced at that moment, and wonders about the fire lizard leader, thinking there seems to be a greater leader in that tribe. The 1,000 beast taming points are certainly tempting, but it will be difficult if they get surrounded by fire lizards. He says to finish the job change mission first and then figure out how to deal with the fire lizard leader. He orders the sky dove to fetch the fire dragon flame, and the bird successfully grabs it, and the ant says the stinky bird managed to do it. Then the sky dove hands over the flower and Lin says, "This mission is really easy, not bad at all. Now it is time to think about how to deal with the fire lizard leader." Han looks to the side and a blast of power is fired, but they dodge, and a voice says he is lucky. It is a young man with his partners who also says to hand over the fire dragon flame and take a quick ending. And the protagonist asks who he is and if he wants to take his things just like that, asking what right he has. The Thunder Mage says that because he is from the Mage Association, unlike them, the insignificant ones, his future is limitless. And Lin wonders about the Mage Association, thinking he heard that this organization recruits awakened individuals of all professions and frequently extorts protection fees from ordinary citizens, being called an association, but actually being a notorious local gang. The Thunder Mage says that if he knows what is good for him, handing over the fire dragon flame will let him go. Beside him, his partner tells him to wait a minute and look at the girl behind that boy. They look at the girls and say they are all top grade, and the Thunder Mage says he changed his mind and wants him to hand over the girl too, saying they will have some fun. Han says it was to be expected. Scum that does nothing human asks why allow scum to run loose and says they need to be completely eliminated to protect the environment. The Thunder Mage asks what nonsense he is talking about and says that since he is ungrateful, they should break his 4 limbs and throw him into the fire lizard pack. The other mage partners unleash flames and say it is an honor for their brother to claim the woman, and that if he dares resist, it will not be as simple as breaking his hands and feet. The protagonist simply stands still while his 2 pets attack the opponents and defeat all 3. The Thunder Mage is shocked and wonders how those 2 women can be so strong, and Lin says he will introduce himself and that he is a level 20 beast tamer, and those 2 girls are his. They are primordial fierce beasts, and tearing him to pieces is child's play. The Thunder Mage begins releasing his power and thinks he heard that rare beasts rarely abandon their owners and that he will find a way to seriously injure that boy. The Thunder Mage begins gathering lightning into a ball. The Sky Dove steps in front and says that with her there, no one can touch her master. The Thunder Mage is hit. The ant also strikes him and asks how he dares intimidate her master, saying she will finish him. And Han tells her not to finish him because he needs him. The 4 are tied up with a rope, and the Thunder Mage asks what he wants and says he advises him to let him go soon, because if he dares harm him, the Mage Association will not let him off. The protagonist approaches him and says he has no grudge or hatred, and asks why he would hurt him, and says moreover he has a mission that requires his help. The lizards begin looking upward and the four are dropped there, and the sky dove holds a rope telling him to scream louder. The thunder mage begs for mercy and tells them not to drop him, and his partner beside him says they were wrong and begs to let them go. The lizards begin approaching them. The protagonist says the bird is maintaining that altitude well, and the ant asks what they are doing and if they shouldn't be dealing with the fire lizard king. They are dropped onto a rock and the lizards approach them, climbing the rock, and the thunder mage begins releasing his power, telling them not to come closer. The lizards are struck, but the attacks are useless against the lizards. They get even more terrified, afraid of losing their lives, until the lizard jumps and the protagonist says they're useless and tells her to protect them a bit so they don't lose their lives yet. And the sky dove says she understands. She uses storm with thunder, overflowing pool, an explosion occurs, and Lin says that's it and tells her to increase the disturbance. Sounds begin echoing and the lava surges higher, and the fire lizard king approaches, and Han says they caught a big fish. Then the bird attacks and the protagonist says, well done. They drew its attention and tells them to move quickly and bring the target. Yi asks about those 4 bandits and Lin replies not to worry about them because their strength won't last long and they will be buried in the fire lizard pack. Those people are so skilled at killing and robbing that they are clearly repeat offenders. Scum like them. If the fire lizards don't eliminate them, he will do it himself, and for now, he will finish the mission first. The ant moves quickly and punches the opponent, continuing to strike non-stop, and a voice says to maintain suppression that they will test its strength first. Yi jumps and Lin tells the sky dove to take control and not let it have any free time, and the bird attacks the enemy immediately. Han smiles and says that although the fire lizard king is superior, the two are working together and as long as they coordinate properly, they can gradually bring it down. Then a very loud sound is emitted and the protagonist, holding his ear, asks what is happening. It is the fire lizard king with its huge mouth wide open, pushing the two away and unleashing a tremendous attack, and Lin says that's not good, and they must dodge. The bird steps in front to protect her partner and a terrible explosion erupts. The protagonist, worried, asks if the sky dove is alright, while the ant, equally tense, also tries to confirm her condition. Lin observes that both of them are still at level 20, and an 8-level difference is not easy to overcome. The mission is important, but losing either of them would be a tragedy. The sky dove insists she can continue, and reminds him that the master is doing something extremely important, so they cannot give up. Besides, if they retreat now, the fire lizard king will certainly chase them. Yi agrees and states that if this concerns their master, then it is also her responsibility to help fulfill his goal. The two advance without hesitation and ask him not to worry, guaranteeing they will do everything they can to complete the mission. Han is surprised to realize how much they value him and understands that they are also thinking of him, so he needs to plan that battle carefully to prevent them from getting hurt. The Fire Lizard King is enormous, resilient, and almost immune to their attacks. Defeating it head-on is practically impossible, so a different approach becomes necessary. Amid the tension, the protagonist notices that the wound on the monster was opened by Yi, and instructs the bird to keep fighting like that while waiting for an opportunity to widen the wound on the enemy's neck. The two admit they do not know what their master's plan is, but following his orders has always been the right choice, and the ant begins concentrating her attacks on that point. Lin confirms that is exactly what he wants and tells her to build up damage little by little, opening the wound further. The lizard reacts and throws her away, making Han order the bird to attack right after. The bird fires her lightning, generating a massive impact, but the enemy remains standing, alarming both of them. Han realizes this will not work and concludes that separately, they can only inflict superficial wounds. The protagonist moves quickly, understanding that the real issue is the lack of synchronization. He activates lightning wings, skill copy, and speed before charging at the enemy, believing that by replicating their abilities, he can inflict real damage, and that by using his own body as bait, he can guide the lightning precisely. He unleashes his electrical attacks, saying he is using 1 billion volts, and that the monster is about to turn into charcoal. The combined strikes build up enough pressure to completely bring it down. The mission grants 1,000 beast taming points as a reward. The bird celebrates that her level also increased. Yi says she became much stronger, and Lin is excited to see everything resolved. Han's body, however, is exhausted, unable to remain standing, and the two have to hold him while he insists he is fine, just tired from excessive use of skills. The scum from the Mage Association are probably already eliminated, and the Fire Lizard Pack will arrive soon, so they all leave quickly to rest before heading to the Job Transfer Temple. The next morning, the system announces that the mission was successfully completed and that the third transfer has been achieved, granting him the class of Elite Beast Tamer. The protagonist admits it was not easy, but celebrates the awakening of two new skills, considering the mission extremely rewarding. Outside, viewers watching the giant screen remember that 5-star mission had been released only 2 days earlier and wonder how anyone could complete it so fast, even doubting whether a human could progress at that pace. The secretary comments that after witnessing Mr. Lin's absurd leveling speed, nothing surprises her anymore, not even the sun rising in the west. Elsewhere, Han asks his pets when they became so strong. Yi says she is overflowing with energy, the protagonist is shocked, and the bird, surrounded by an intimidating aura, comments that leveling up is wonderful and that her new combat form has been unlocked. Lin complains that they are cheating because even just one level higher, the attribute gap became enormous. Even so, they are his creatures, and the stronger they are, the better, so he allows the system to use all beast taming points to enhance the abilities of both. He thinks that the third transfer reward came with so many others that he barely had time to analyze them. They all seem excellent, and he wonders which one he should choose. The Sky Dove asks what that is and says that becoming one with their master would surely be a wonderful experience. Yi encourages him to choose fusion because it is super cool, while the protagonist questions whether their motivations are truly appropriate. He thinks that if he could combine the strength of the celestial ant with the speed of the Thunder Emperor, he would become far stronger than simply copying abilities. Choosing fusion would prevent him from being embarrassed when facing beasts as strong as the Fire Lizard King in the future. In any case, new abilities will appear during the 4th job transfer, so this time it is better to pick something simple and brutal. The two cheer, saying he is the best, and thanking him. Lin states that now that they chose a skill, they must find the right chance to test it. Soon after, they call him over upon noticing a new mission, to tame a third beast, with a reward of 1,500 beast taming points. Han gets excited and asks if capturing this third beast really grants that many points, concluding that it is pure profit. Yi starts crying and asks if he intends to contract another beast and wants to know whether he still wants her with him. The bird pats her head and assures her that even if the master contracts another beast, he will not abandon either of them and asks the master to confirm. Han replies that, of course, his priority now is to keep leveling up, since a major event is about to happen. The two ask what important event that is. A few days later, the admission exam for the first secondary school of Wuxi City takes place. A voice asks all students to pay attention, and Sikong announces that this is the grand day on which several academies will recruit new students. Lin comments that he has been so busy leveling up these past few days that he almost forgot about the exam. Luckily, he remembered, because if he forgot, his sister would tear him apart. Yi complains, saying she does not want to stay there, since they are in the beast-taming space, while the ant asks where he is and the bird tries calming her. Han thinks that today's event is serious and that their presence would be inappropriate, but leaving them locked inside the taming space, which originally served only to store items, is something they would find really difficult to endure. Cheng announces they will welcome the academy leaders with a warm round of applause and introduces the visitors, Director Li Tuyi from Beiqin Academy and Director Liu Tianyi from Qingsheng Academy. The protagonist is impressed to see the directors of the two most prestigious academies of the Tianlong Empire present. Long explains that those two institutions do not recruit many students each year, much less from such a small place. Lin wonders whether he should go to Qingsheng or Beiqin, and comments that compared to them, he is more curious about the newly arrived representative. Supervisor Ye Taiking, head of the military academy, welcomed with applause. Zhao says that the prestige of the military academy surpasses that of Qingsheng and Beiqin, and that this is the truly important institution. He asks his partner what level he is now and which beasts he contracted, mentioning he reached level 15 and that when there is an opportunity, they will have some fun later. The protagonist says he grew stronger over the past few days, but Long responds that he is still far from his level and asks about the third transfer he claimed he would make. A voice tells them to stop bragging. Fang then mocks them, saying that the idea of a third transfer is so absurd that only a foolish fatso would believe it. If he's not strong enough, he should admit it instead of lying shamelessly. Zhao complains, asking why he appears everywhere, and warns he will not hold back if they end up fighting. Lin says he did not expect to see him there, and reminds Feng that he still owes him the 1,000 Tianlong coins he lost in their previous bet. Since they met, it would be best to settle the debt now. Yang tells him to stop acting high and mighty and says that today he is definitely no match for him. Han replies that he fears he will have to disappoint him. Sikong interrupts, announcing that the university admission exam is about to begin, explaining that the grand exam will be divided into two parts, the leveling test and the practical combat exercise. The first stage will not determine the final score, but will deepen each student's understanding of their own strength and of their peers, helping with team formation for the practical combat stage. As for the second stage, The practical combat exercise will mainly evaluate adaptability on the battlefield and teamwork. The top 3 teams will receive special resource packages and priority in selection. To prevent system exploitation or total dependence on teammates, final admission will be determined by a dual assessment based on individual combat performance and a comprehensive analysis score. With that, the grand exam is officially underway, and the expectation is that everyone will do their best and earn a place in the academy they desire. The leveling test would begin at that moment, with the students lining up according to class order. The crystal ball used could evaluate levels between 10 and 20, eliminating any possibility of cheating. The first results appeared. Class 1, Tiankun, Beast Tamer level 10. Class 1, Kai Duo, Blacksmith level 11. Bai observed the situation, wondering how well Lin's beasts were prepared. Aware that this exam carried great weight for his future, but she immediately grew irritated as she remembered that he had rejected the void beast she captured with so much effort, concluding that he was becoming far too arrogant. A voice comments that if she plans to be someone's protector, she should at least choose the right person. Feng appears, saying she only talks about Han and admitting he can't understand what is so special about that boy to attract so much attention. Bing intervenes, stating that if they want to test something, they should do it soon, because if they keep criticizing her student, they should not blame her for losing her patience. Yang steps forward, saying that even without this argument, he is much stronger than Han, and would show today what it means to be exceptionally talented. Feng displays his level 16, surprising Bai, while the audience comments that this was the highest level shown so far and that it would be difficult for anyone to surpass him. Many believe the directors would fight over who gets to recruit him. Satisfied, Feng tells everyone to observe the difference between him and Han, declaring himself the strongest in the school, but the protagonist replies that he isn't so sure, since Feng's score had just been surpassed. Yang turns to the side and sees Leng reach level 17, hearing someone say it's no wonder she is one of the prodigy twins. Chung highlights that she is the pride of the school, excellent both academically and in talent, and one of the directors comments that with such a level and good combat reasoning, she would have no trouble entering Beichin Academy. The other director adds that Qing Sheng also needs people like her. A boy mentions hearing that there is another talented tamer at the school, named Lin, known along with Leng as one of the prodigy twins, and asks whether he is present. The roll call moves to Class 6. The commander observes Lin and remembers that this boy had broken the record of the illusory Void Realm earlier, wondering what surprise he would bring this time. Feng claims that, before the testing device, all demons would be revealed, and that he looks forward to seeing Lin embarrass himself. Bai, irritated, comments that he needs a beating. The protagonist places a hand on her shoulder and says the only way to deal with a clown is with a slap to the face, and he can't wait. Bing authorizes the continuation. Lin begins the test, remembering that according to the principal, that crystal ball could only evaluate levels up to 20. Now at the third transfer, he wonders what the result will be. The aura around the ball becomes increasingly intense. Han asks whether that trembling is normal, and Bai replies she has never seen anything like it. Then the ball cracks and shatters. Long tries to understand what just happened. Bing rushes to Lin asking if he is hurt, and the protagonist says he is fine. Bai asks why the device broke and whether it reached the end of its lifespan, saying it should have been checked before the exam. Lin suspects the reason is not simply level too high. Feng starts laughing, claiming his strength is so pathetic that even the device couldn't withstand it, suggesting he should withdraw from the exam voluntarily, while a red-haired boy agrees, saying that makes perfect sense. A proctor approaches, declaring that Lin not only failed the test but also broke the only evaluation device, calling that outright illegality. Lin observes the situation and remembers that the principal promised to punish Cao, yet the man is still at the school, making him question how much backing the proctor really has. Bai explains that this is Cao Xiong, twin brother of Cao Chong, and the proctor responsible for the exam, reminding him that Xiong holds a grudge against Lin for reporting his brother, so Lin should be careful. The proctor accuses him of damaging public property and says that without a completed level test, he should be disqualified from the practical stage. The protagonist steps forward immediately, stating that proctors must not allow personal resentment to interfere with the exam, and that if the examiner cannot treat everyone fairly, he should resign as soon as possible. Xiong answers with disdain, telling Lin to stop struggling. The proctor reinforces that the profession of beast tamer is a waste in front of the esteemed directors present. The two directors agree, saying his level is so weak it cannot even be measured, and that being a tamer is useless in the practical combat exercise since without powerful resources, it is incredibly difficult to train someone of that class. At that moment, someone jumps into the center of the arena, Chung, who says he heard everything. Feng becomes excited, imagining that if Lin cannot get into higher education, his career will end there. A voice rises asking whether a person's strength shouldn't be evaluated by combat performance, revealing the speaker to be the commander. He reminds them that the leveling test only registers personal data, and that the practical exercise is the main event. Prioritizing the wrong thing would only hinder the identification of exceptional talents. The directors admit the supervisor's words were enlightening, and say they will observe Lin's performance in the second round, possibly even finding a pleasant surprise. The commander asks whether everything is settled, and Sikong confirms, thanking everyone for being willing to give the student a chance. The protagonist thinks that Supervisor Ye of the military academy is truly a decent person, while Bai comments she always heard he was famous for his fairness and never expected him to stand up for them. She says this opportunity was earned with great effort, so they should do their best in the next stage and make those who look down on him swallow their words. Feng complains that Lin only got lucky, declaring that even if he participates in the practical combat, trash will always be trash. Yang laughs loudly, and Lin says he simply gave him a little space so he could show off. Feng provokes him, saying to keep talking because he wouldn't mind settling things personally in the arena if Lin has the courage. The boy replies that they will see who will be crushed. Chung announces the transition to the second round. The practical combat exercise will allow students to form teams of up to 3 people, and the test will be broadcast live so university directors can observe every movement. Long asks the protagonist whether he wants to form a team with him, saying he will help him break through the encirclement. Lin accepts, and Zhao confirms that it's no problem. Shu calls him afterwards and asks if she may join the group. Long jokes that his brother's love life is blooming, since even the pretty girl from class 3 came looking for him. Lin says he has no impression of her, and thinks forming alliances randomly could expose his 2 beasts, explaining that his team is already full and she will probably find a better group. Long reminds him that 3 people are required per team, and complains that doing raids without any girls is boring. Han asks when he will give up the bad habit of letting his eyes dictate his principles. Shu insists, saying that there is probably no team stronger than theirs and that she knew Lin had broken the illusory Void Realm record a few days earlier. Following his lead is her only chance to win the championship. Even though she is only an elite knight at level 15, she promises she won't drag them down. The protagonist recognizes that she is straightforward and sincere, unlikely to use dirty tricks in battle. Long asks why he hasn't agreed yet when the girl is begging so much, and Zhao joins the insistence until Lin accepts her onto the team. Ting celebrates excitedly, saying this is great, and the protagonist submits the group registration form. Bai asks whether that girl is the Shu from class 3, and Lin explains that her profession fits their team composition perfectly, which is why she was invited. Bing comments that she initially planned to recommend Lang as his partner because the probability of victory would be much higher, but Feng approached her first, leaving her to wonder what promises he made. Han gently touches her hair and says there is no need to worry because the team is determined to win the championship. Bai admits she feared he wouldn't be able to form a team and would end up embarrassing the 6th-year class, and the protagonist says he would never allow her reputation to be tarnished. Bing warns him to be careful and, if anything unexpected happens, to contact her immediately, also asking him not to push himself too hard. Long announces it is time to leave, and Lin moves ahead, thinking about how many people are supporting him. He realizes that in this practical exercise, it will no longer be possible to hide his strength. Upon arriving at the restricted zone of the wilderness area, a voice instructs that the combat is divided into bronze, silver, and gold zones, where higher zones grant more points for defeating fierce beasts. It also warns them to take care of the identification bracelet provided by the school, responsible for creating announcement and chat channels, allowing them to view rankings and send distress signals. The group must choose the zone according to their own strength and strive to score points. And Feng claims those creatures are child's play. Lizards appear on the track and they defeat them easily, accumulating several kills. The audience follows everything on the big screen, and the 2 directors comment that Lung is exceptional. Just 10 minutes after the start of the exam, she is already in first place. They conclude that the girl has tremendous talent and even chose strong teammates, making her team very likely to win. While observing other formations, the proctor points out that several teams are racking up points, but Lin's team has none, calling it an embarrassment to the first secondary school. The directors confirm he is the beast tamer mentioned earlier and say they do not expect much from that group. Bai becomes irritated, saying they are too blind to see and that her student's potential will still shock everyone, until a danger alert flashes on the big screen exactly in the area where Lin's team is, making Bing uneasy. Inside the exam, a drone instructs the group to stay alert, informing them they have reached the silver zone, where fierce beasts of levels 10 to 20 are common. Long, frightened, asks if he really brought them there, while the protagonist thinks that if his friend knew he started leveling up in the silver zone, his eyes would probably pop out. A message from Feng arrives saying he already cleared the bronze zone and that if Lin wants points, he can go there to be finished off. The protagonist smiles, calling it childish, and Long calls him a parasite for living off a woman's generosity, saying he has no idea how disgusting he is. Shu comments that he has always been like that, reminding them he bothered her many times and that she knows very well what kind of person he is. New notifications appear on Lin's bracelet, congratulating him for activating the hunting mission. He gets excited because it is exactly what he needs, seeing it as the perfect chance to test the abilities gained after the third job transfer by facing Gold Zone beasts. He reassures the group, saying that even if other teams dominate the Bronze Zone, they will not threaten them since Silver beasts grant triple points. Zhao questions whether they truly have the strength to handle creatures of that level and fears they might be eliminated instead of scoring. Ting reminds them that Silver beasts act in packs and appear in groups, making encounters very stressful. The protagonist says that as long as they do not let a single creature escape, he plans to face them head-on, and once they accumulate enough points, they will move to the Gold Zone. Long asks if he is serious, and Lin confirms, saying Gold Zone beasts give the highest points, and that to win the championship they must think that way. A level 18 corrosive hyena appears, and Zhao, still distracted, says Lin's words make sense but fears such a leap may hurt them. Han sees the beast approaching and neutralizes it in one blow. Other hyenas appear and are eliminated just as easily, and the system registers the points. Long swallows hard, shocked, asking if level 18 creatures were really defeated effortlessly. Shu watches his performance and wonders if she joined a true powerhouse. Lin asks if they have considered it and if they really want to go to the Gold Zone with him, receiving immediate confirmation. Outside, the big screen shows they entered the Silver Zone, and a teacher asks if Bai's student has lost his mind by taking Ting there, warning that if anything happens, she will not let it slide. Bing calms her, saying the student would never act without certainty. The proctor says that since Lin knows he cannot win the championship, he decided to drag his teammates into failure, not expecting his character to be so despicable. Bai counters, asking if he intends to demean the school's students repeatedly, but Xiong replies he is not afraid of a few rotten apples staining the school's reputation. The directors pity Lin's teammates, saying they have high-level professions but are held back by the tamer's choice. One director widens his eyes at a sudden spike in the team's points and asks how that happened. The system says they defeated 5 silver beasts. The commander observes and sees the team advancing steadily, while another teacher points out the score rising again. Bai asks them to show the surveillance feed. Everyone sees Han's ant eliminating monsters with the electric bird. The teacher is amazed and asks if those are Lin's beasts, and a director says they clearly are not ordinary and might be his trump cards. Contrary to what Cao claimed, Lin may not be incompetent. The proctor tries to excuse himself, saying that even if the beasts are rare, it does not mean Lin can dominate the Silver Zone, since there are many dangerous creatures and only 2 summons cannot handle everything. But the system announces the team just defeated 3 level 15 Thunder Beasts. The teacher celebrates, saying Lin's beasts are like walking point collecting machines, clearing the Silver Zone on their own. Xiong becomes increasingly angry, imagining that at this rate the team might even reach first place. Bai asks the teacher if she still thinks he brought Ting there to die. She replies it was just a joke. Bing watches and realizes why Lin rejected the Void Beast. He had something much better. Inside the exam, Lin fights alongside the beasts as their combined strength rises quickly. Long says they reached 5th place. Shu says they reached 3rd. Lin says the area is clear and proposes moving on. Zhao asks if he really awakened that strength beside them, saying Lung's level was already insane, but Lin's is even more terrifying. Ting says reaching that power in the 2nd job transfer is impossible for their generation. Lin asks who said he was in the 2nd job, shocking them as they suspect he reached the 3rd transfer. Long asks how long ago he changed class and wonders if he's cheating. Han laughs and says it is a misunderstanding and that they should be clear before accusing. The Silver Zone is no longer enough, and he heads toward the Gold Zone. Zhao says the choice is his, and that this time they will follow the Golden Thigh without hesitation. The teacher watching the big screen widens her eyes as they really head to the Gold Zone, while Bai worries whether he can handle it. Xiong mocks them, saying they are overestimating themselves just because they beat a few silver beasts. Bing calls him ignorant and says Lin's 2 beasts can defeat even ordinary Gold Zone monsters, telling him to trust the students like a real teacher should. The proctor grits his teeth, thinking that if not for Han, his brother would not have been arrested, and vows to settle this no matter what. At the border between bronze and silver, Feng says their score is far ahead and that trash Lin cannot catch up, until he receives a message from Chong saying Han is already 2nd in the rankings and seems to be heading to the Gold Zone. The message urges him to speed up and, if necessary, enter the Silver Zone, even giving beast locations. Leng suggests staying there because advancing could provoke a pack of silver beasts, but when she looks beside her, her teammates are gone and she wonders where they went, imagining beasts may be approaching. A demonic monkey bursts from the vegetation chasing Feng, who tells his partner to act fast so they can defeat it together. Yang thanks the supervisor mentally for providing the locations, and thinks if he defeats the long-armed monkey, he can secure victory. When Feng notices, the monster is about to hit him, and he wonders how it closed the distance so fast. Leng fires ice beams, freezing part of the creature, and complains she asked him not to provoke silver beasts carelessly. Feng tells her to stop whining and work with him to defeat the macaque, promising that as long as she cooperates, the Storm Master weapon promised by the Sao and Feng families will remain valid. Leng regrets partnering with him, thinking she should never have agreed. A loud crash sounds when she uses her ice cream cone skill, but the macaque charges unharmed. It leaps at Leng, who shuts her eyes instinctively, but Han's aunt intercepts the attack and protects her. Leng is stunned by the interference, and Han approaches asking what exactly they were doing there. The ant finishes off the long-armed demon monkey with ease, while Lin's electric bird releases a devastating bolt of lightning that ends the creature instantly. Leng is shocked, unable to believe that a level 20 long-armed demon monkey was defeated so effortlessly, and wonders if his summoned beasts are truly that powerful. Lin asks why they deliberately provoked a beast of that level and who gave them the courage to do so. Feng walks past them, irritated and silent, while Han notices a malicious fluctuation on the bracelet, indicating that a student had been attacked by a fierce beast. At first he thought someone had just been unlucky, but had he known Feng was near, he would have waited a bit longer before intervening. Yang clenches his fist, grabs Lin's collar, and demands to know why he interfered, accusing him of stealing his prey and promising never to forgive him. Lin's shirt is stained by the plasma, and Leng pushes Yang's hand away, asking if the monkey damaged his brain since without Han, he would have already been crushed. Yang shoves her and tells her to mind her own business, insisting that Lin only appeared to steal points, and questioning how supposed geniuses like them couldn't handle a single long-armed demon monkey. Leng slaps him and Feng shouts, asking if she actually dared to hit him. She answers that there is nothing there she can't do, and clarifies that their partnership is purely transactional. She helps him reach first place, and in return his family provides a level 20 exclusive weapon. She adds that he has zero authority to give orders, and if he keeps acting like a fool, he will be the one to suffer. Han observes that it was a great spectacle, but says he won't waste time since his teammates are waiting. Yang smiles, thinking this is the only moment Lin can act arrogantly, and that once he enters the gold zone, he'll have the perfect chance to use the gift he prepared. At the border of the gold zone, Long comments that his brother is taking too long and wonders if he should have returned already. Lin appears and asks if everyone is all right. Zhao runs to him, demanding to know where he went, reminding him this is the gold zone and any fierce beast could swallow them whole. Something rapidly approaches from behind. Level 28 nether wolves. The protagonist senses them, strikes the first wolf with enough force to launch it away and kills it effortlessly. Long confirms, astonished, that they were indeed nether wolves, level 28 fierce beasts, while Zhu recalls that abyss wolves always hunt in packs. Lin confirms they're surrounded by a wolf pack, and Zhao panics, asking if this is truly a group of level 28 beasts and concluding they're doomed. Han evaluates the situation and realizes that, luckily, they had already defeated many beasts earlier and leveled up. For him, this wolf pack is merely a warm-up. He orders his pets not to hold back and to turn all wolves into experience points within 10 minutes, telling Yi to activate berserk mode and wipe out anything that comes close. The ant gets excited, promises to fight beside her master, and charges forward with their electric bird. The battlefield erupts in light and thunder. Wolves fall one after another, crushed by Yi's strength or electrocuted by the bird's devastating lightning. The system announces the completion of the mission to hunt 10 gold-level fierce beasts and awards 1,000 beast taming points. Han thinks it was great defeating so many beasts before entering the gold zone, but is surprised he encountered a wolf pack so quickly, concluding he must strengthen himself before exploring further. Yi jumps into his arms proudly, saying she defeated all the big dogs, and Han praises her as a good girl and asks her to get down. Yi smells the plasma on his shirt and comments that it smells so good, it makes her want to push the master to the ground, which makes him realize the substance belongs to the wolves. The jealous bird complains that they agreed she wouldn't monopolize the master, and Han calms her down, reminding her there are still plenty of monsters to hunt. Shu watches Han and remarks that his combat power is absurd, capable of turning fierce beasts into mere pets. Something completely different from what she imagined from a beast tamer, and Long says she'll soon get used to it. Han suggests they shouldn't leave empty-handed and leaves 2 ethereal wolves for Su and Zhao to finish for experience. The two thank him while Han clears the area and warns that they must keep hunting. Zhao, curious, asks what their ranking must look like after defeating so many beasts, and Long checks the panel announcing they moved up to first place. Ting adds that this happened around half an hour ago, and Zhao wonders what the teachers must be thinking. Outside, the director of Qingsheng says he wants the boy for his academy. The director of Beiqian calls him shameless and insists Lin should attend Beiqian, and the two begin arguing over which school is better. Chung is shocked that both academies are fighting over a single student from their school, and Bai wonders if her student truly performed that impressively. The two directors even consider fighting to decide who will claim the boy. At that moment, the military commander approaches and reminds them they are forgetting someone important. The directors ask if he is also interested in the boy and acknowledge that although Qingsheng and Beiqian are prestigious, neither compares to the military academy. The commander says he does admire the boy but emphasizes that everyone has their own aspirations and that the boy must choose for himself. He orders them to sit and leave the discussion until after Lin exits the trial. They comply, and Chung, emotional, comments that not only Qingsheng and Beiqian, but even the military academy is showing interest, marking a historic day for the school. Bai tries to calm him but agrees that her student is exceptional. The examiner, furious, cannot understand how that kid suddenly possesses such power, wondering if he truly isn't trash and thinking Feng must try harder to eliminate Lin. In the silver zone, Yang sees Lin's team in first place and wonders how that trash surpassed him, ordering his team to advance since they still have a chance. Lang asks what kind of dream he's having, and Feng demands explanations, reminding her of the promised level 20 weapon. Leng says her stamina is exhausted and she cannot fight anymore, telling him that if he wants points, he must get them alone. Yang thinks it doesn't matter because Lin will soon be in danger and decides to let him be arrogant for a while longer. The trial ends shortly after, and Xikong welcomes back the participants safely. Feng and Leng exit the portal in second place, and Chung praises the duo for their performance, especially Leng's skilled moves against strong enemies. Regarding Feng, he admits the overall result was commendable, but scolds him for provoking the long-armed demon monkey and nearly getting himself killed. Evaluators comment that the two are promising talents the school has been nurturing. Meanwhile, the directors ask where Lin is and why he hasn't come out yet. Yang watches with satisfaction, thinking his plan worked. He deliberately smeared Lin's shirt with the demon monkey's plasma, knowing it attracts whole swarms of fierce beasts and assuming Lin was already torn apart. A voice announces Hans and his teammates return, and Feng is utterly shocked when the ranking displays Lin's team in first place. Long confirms they indeed finished at the top. Feng is stunned, wondering how Lin wasn't eliminated and how they survived leveling up in the gold zone, concluding that the plan failed. The directors rush to Lin immediately and begin making offers to recruit him to their academies, while the protagonist, confused, wonders whether they aren't exaggerating. They argue again, each insisting their school is superior, and Lin watches alongside his teammates, thinking the two look like old swindlers trying to rope him in after failing to get what they wanted. The military commander steps in and says they should postpone the academy decision for now, and asks Lin if they can talk. He begins by asking Lin to reveal his current level and seriously states that, if he is not mistaken, Lin has probably already completed the third job transfer. The entire area freezes as everyone tries to process what they just heard, whispers spreading asking if it's true, and someone comments that if he really completed the third transfer, then they've discovered a true treasure. A teacher asks Bai whether she knew and why she hid it. Bai responds indignantly that she had no idea, and asks whether they really think she would pretend to be nervous if she knew his true strength, admitting that the boy managed to hide it even from her and promising to settle accounts with him later. Feng, consumed by anger, repeats in disbelief, "Third transfer?" convinced that such a thing is impossible. He insists that Lin is not as good as him and that he should be the #1 genius of the school, accusing him of cheating and claiming that he awakened only a few days ago and could not have advanced that far, telling everyone not to be fooled. The commander and Han speak at the same time, saying they almost forgot about him, and when they realize they said the same thing simultaneously, they glance at each other for a moment. Lin understands immediately that Supervisor Ye noticed Yong's attempt to harm him and deliberately set up a situation to expose him, so he feels he must not waste the opportunity. He faces Yong and says that they still haven't settled things, stating that it is already clear who he truly is, and that before anything else, everyone should observe his current level. The protagonist reveals that he's at level 27 with the Elite Beast Tamer class. Yong turns pale and asks if he is seeing things, unable to believe that the trash from before reached such a high level, muttering that not even Leng reached level 20. Lin asks directly if he was so certain he would die and what the reason for that conviction was. Questioning whether it was because of the pool of monkey plasma Yang deliberately smeared on his clothes. Feng tries to deny it, saying he doesn't know what he is talking about. Bai approaches and says denying is useless because every action inside the simulation is recorded by surveillance cameras, guaranteeing that when they review the footage, everyone will see the truth. Yang gives a crooked smile and Han senses something is wrong. Feng confidently asks the examiner to activate the surveillance device and show the images. The protagonist wonders when Xiang received the device and realizes this is bad. The examiner explains that the device was handed to him when he entered the arena, but was unfortunately damaged during combat and cannot be reactivated. Bing decides to check it personally while Xiang celebrates internally, remembering that he tampered with everything the moment Feng left the arena. With the device destroyed, no one would be able to prove they tried to harm Han. A voice interrupts, saying that if the device is damaged, there is another available recording that might be checked instead. The commander appears holding a cell phone and explains that the military installed additional cameras in various areas to ensure accuracy in scoring, and that although it wasn't the original purpose, the footage will now serve as decisive evidence. The screen clearly shows Feng spreading monkey plasma and smearing Lin's clothing with deliberate intent. The commander explains that while the long-armed demon monkey is only a silver-level beast, its plasma causes disorientation and provokes higher-level beasts. Using it against a teammate had the obvious purpose of attracting gold-level beasts to eliminate Han and his team. He declares that Feng should consider himself lucky not to be one of his soldiers and that he didn't cause greater harm, because someone capable of plotting against his own companions would live a life worse than elimination and would regret it. Feng becomes overwhelmed with frustration while Chung states that he truly committed something disgraceful and brought shame to the school, concluding that he is unworthy of being a student and must prepare for expulsion. Han states that Feng is nothing but a pawn and questions how a regular student would know the exact effect of the monkey plasma and then conveniently damage the surveillance device afterwards. He points out that the examiner's brother has targeted him many times and that the device was damaged exactly while under his control, asking whether that isn't far too convenient. The examiner tries to defend himself, claiming none of it has anything to do with him and that he would never stoop so low, saying he feels ashamed to be associated with someone as despicable as Feng. Yang, desperate, says they cannot do that to him and that at first he only wanted the points from the long-armed monkey. He also claims that he received a message from the examiner, explaining how to use the plasma and instructing him to smear it on Lin's clothing. Xiang immediately strikes him, telling him to shut up, and demands to know when he supposedly did such a thing, knocking Feng to the floor. Yang's phone slides away and someone picks it up. Bai confirms that Yang told the truth, because the message from the examiner is on the device. Xiang tries to argue that the accusation is false and demands the phone back, but Chung intervenes, saying he didn't expect him to be as vile as his brother, and that people like him must be punished. The commander orders the examiner to be handed over to the military to receive proper sanctions, stating that he abused his authority for personal gain, framed students, and violated professional ethics completely, guaranteeing he will face unimaginable punishment. The two directors agree, saying he deserves it, and conclude that Feng, with such a corrupt character, will never be admitted into their academies. They believe the two plotted together, but are now disgraced with their futures ruined, saying it serves them right. Feng sinks into despair, saying it's all over. Han thinks that if Yi hadn't reacted to the monkey plasma, he might not have discovered the small scheme so quickly, and admits he didn't expect the supervisor to notice everything so easily. He concludes that this is to be expected from a high-ranking officer of the military academy, and that joining it may not be a bad idea. The commander calls Han and says his performance in the simulation was excellent, stating that the military academy would accept him at any moment, but warning that they do not offer tempting conditions. Whoever joins undergoes rigorous training, and the decision must be entirely his own. He suggests thinking carefully before choosing. Soon after, the two directors also call out to him, asking him not to make a hasty decision and suggesting he examine all options thoroughly. Han steps away, saying he will think everything through. Chung watches from afar, deeply impressed, commenting that it had been many years since he had seen two great academies, and even the military academy, competing for a student so aggressively, and that since he is a student of their school, they should support him fully. Shortly afterwards, still at the location, Sikong announces that the final exam has officially concluded and begins the award ceremony. Third place for Du, Kun, and Bo, second place for Feng and Lung, and first place for Lin, Long, and Shu. Chung presents the rewards based on their performance: a mansion in the city center, an advanced skill book called Sky-Piercing Fist, and a gold-grade necklace capable of increasing the user's overall attributes by 20% for 3 minutes, with a limit of 3 uses. Han states that he is only receiving such generous rewards thanks to accumulated effort, the school's support, and especially the city of Wuxi, but finds it exaggerated that the first prize is a mansion, and wonders if this means he will be able to sleep beside his two beasts every day. Chung jokes that sincere gratitude can wait until he truly becomes successful and sends Bai to take him to see the mansion first. Inside a moving car, Bing asks if he has already decided which academy he wants to choose. Lin admits he still isn't sure and had even considered asking her opinion. Bai suggests that if he wants a more stable path, Qingbei would be the best choice, but notes that the military academy is an environment that truly tests a person's character. If he wants to reach higher heights in the future, joining it would also be an excellent option. Han reflects that if he didn't have the system, choosing Qingbei for its resources would make sense. But now, with the ability to reverse his own ancestry and the need for real combat to enhance his skills, the military academy seems more suitable, especially considering his low supply of beast taming points. He decides to end the uncertainty and announces that he has chosen the military academy. Bing smiles, saying he's always surprising, and tells him that if he needs help there in the future, he can count on her. Lin thinks that even though the Bai family is powerful, it's difficult to measure how far their influence reaches within the military academy. His sister doesn't want him to feel pressured, but he feels no pressure at all. After all, with Yi on the left and the sky Dove on the right, he wonders where exactly pressure could even fit. Han, however, concludes that such pressure does exist and is quite significant. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.